I'd like to call our Thursday, May 2nd, Fourth Lake Area Schools School Board meeting to order. Let's open up with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. Before we take roll call, I'd just like to, our two students who were gravely injured the other day, they're on all of our minds, and so I just thought maybe before the meeting starts, we could take just a moment of silence where we reach out with our heads and our hearts to the families and the kids and all they're struggling with right now. So we just have just a short moment. All right. Member Clerk, could you please take roll of attendance?
Member Christensen is here. Member Corcoran?
Here.
Member Hagelin is absent. Member Peterson?
Here.
Member Rafia?
Here.
Member Eveline?
Here.
Member Tyson?
Here.
All right, we have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? No discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we have our agenda. 4, scheduled and unscheduled visitors, listening session.
Yeah, I can speak to that. We had 3 individuals in attendance tonight. We had a long discussion on academic performance, curriculum, book review. We really covered a lot of topics and hit on some of the adjustments we've made in the elementary system, some of the supports that we have in the high school. I thought it was a pretty engaging discussion. We covered a lot of different topics.
All right, thank you. All right, student achievement, we have our RISE program in. Ms. Laidlaw.
Hello, I'm Kirsten Laidlaw. I teach health at the high school, and I'm also the RISE Club student leader. It's my 2nd year in the position. And tonight I've got 3 of our group members with us. I have Sophia and Monica and Nora, and they're going to share about what we've done over the past year, some of the things that we're working towards, and all that good stuff. So please take it away. You can use the clicker right there.
Hi, my name's Sophia. I'm Monica. I'm Nora. Carrie Caldwell, our grant coordinator, and Laidlaw. Who we are RISE Club, so it stands for Rangers Impact Student Experience, and our messages are most students speak out, and our goal is to make our school community a better place to provide students opportunities to have fun and uncover the positive, which can result in increased health. So this is some of our data. We collect this data from the 2023 PCN survey, and as you can see, most students don't choose to drink alcohol, use marijuana, or vape e-cigarettes. And there's some stats for you up there from our survey.
So then just looking at more data, like how often people actually do these things. For a lot of them it's less than monthly for students at school, how often and like how often just adults in the community.
This is the first one is the actual numbers, and then the second box is how often that you think that your peers use it. So you can see that the first box, the amount of people that actually do is a lot less than the other one. Yeah.
And we're working to bridge that gap between the perception and actual use. So research shows that if kids are aware of what's actually happening versus what they're assuming, they're more likely to make a positive choice.
So these are some pictures of what we have done throughout the year.
top left, that was at homecoming. We had people sign a poster. The next picture is for the bagel day. We handed out bagels. And there's a cookie and pickleball tournament and the lip day. We're gonna get more into that. This year, some of our RISE students went to YLA, and they had a retreat with other students from other schools who are also received the PCN grant. And some of the activities were group and focused around prevention of the use. And what I have heard, they had a really great time.
Another thing we did was a high holiday hangout. This was something for students to do after school. This included cookie decorating, coloring, holiday movie, pizza, and a t-shirt. If you wore your shirt to the home baseball or hockey game, you got into that night free, just kind of trying to spread that positive messaging again, and have students do an activity, fun with their friends, like without any substance use. And RISE ended up sponsoring a mission for 100 students.
Okay, so something that we do with RISE is we do national days at the school. So one of the national days we did was National Lip Day. So we handed out chapsticks during lunch. We got a lot of them. They're really great chapsticks. And then we had National Cookie Day. So at lunch we handed out Oreos and other Chips Ahoy and stuff like that. Everyone could take one, they were free. We had our most message on it. And then we did National Bagel Day. So people were greeted with bagels when they came into school. And we had cream cheese. It's great. And some of the days we want to do is we want to do National Muffin Day and National Ice Cream Day. One of our events that we just had this year was our first ever Forest Lake Pickleball Tournament. And it was a huge success with close to 30 teams from the middle school, high school, and community members. We had a great poster that our RISE members made, and we had free t-shirts and snacks, and it was a lot of fun. Just another great way to have fun without the use.
These are just some pictures from the pickleball tournament that we hosted recently. As you can see, it was not only like students that could be involved, but members from the community as well, kind of trying to bridge that gap again and have fun like without substance use.
These are some of the posters that we have hung around our school and the community. They have the percentage and the data from the PCN survey. We also have the most messages around. What we want to do next, or what we are doing next, is a seatbelt challenge with SAD and FLPD at lunches. May 9th, we're having a Mother's Day card with Nora, who is a member of RISE, and she's a really great artist. We're doing prom and 9th and 10th grade formal photo booth. Graduation program inserts that we did last year too. Homecoming messages next fall, and more data to update messaging via PCN surveys. Do you have any questions for us?
Questions?
Just more of a comment, I think it's interesting how far apart the data is on perceived versus actual, right? And what an impact that makes for students who are feeling peer pressure from other students.
How do you feel like students receive you when you're just in the general groups of friends and peers in the halls? And does anybody ever ask for information on what you're doing, or do they talk about questions or resources or anything?
Sometimes they ask about Rise Club, or today I was wearing one of our sweatshirts, not this one, but it was one that had the most message. Some people ask about that, and we just tell them about what we do.
I've seen lots of kids wear the shirt that we gave out at the holiday
I've
hangout
seen those too.
around. Yeah, they really like those. And a bunch of teachers asked for the chapsticks. So the message is getting
Give them a pickleball shirt.
Yeah.
Those are really cool. Wow, well, it's so impressive what you do and the variety of things that you plan, and you have the best interest of the whole entire population of our high school in your top of mind with your planning. And so I just really am grateful for all the hard work you do, and I think you should continue to plan community member fun things like that, because I heard from all the community members, or most of them, they had a great time. So thank you for all your hard work.
So how many are in your group? Like, have quite a few more? I mean, you guys seem like you do a lot, so
We
just
have
wondering.
meetings like every week or every other week, and about 10, 15 people come to those.
And so do you have a lot of like lunch hour? Do you have like do you have like a booth set up? Or I just was wondering how often like do you have the messaging going out? I know you have these events, but is it during lunch hour that, or is it more just the events that you hold?
It's mostly the events. We have the posters.
Posters?
Yeah, posters are in school.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, Gail said, I mean, it was a great event. I'm sorry, I was trying to get there, having some issues with my knee, so I couldn't play, but it was a great event and a lot of people, so it's terrific. Congratulations.
So one of you is Nora, correct?
Well,
Are
it's another
you-
Nora.
you're not-
No.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's a different Nora who's doing the job.
Well, that doesn't matter to me. I do need a Mother's Day card though.
You can come to the session.
All right, well, thanks for coming out and talking to us about this, and I think, you know, for us as a board, we look at our student body and we're really proud of the work you guys do, and we see all the, not just you guys, but so many kids are doing so many amazing things, and so I think when you see those numbers where 55% think that the kids are drinking or doing whatever, you know, I think it shows we have to, as a student body, we have to take pride in the good work we do, and I appreciate you guys kind of spreading that message around. So thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll send you an invite to the card decorating, because it's open to community, so.
All right, good. All right, Scandia Elementary, Principal Carafel.
Superintendent Massey, school board members, I'm very excited to be here with you tonight. I'm Shannon Carafel. I'm the principal at Scandia Elementary. Tonight here with me, I have Nora Moss. She is a 6th grade student at Scandia Elementary. She is a student ambassador, and she is the president of the student ambassadors. I also have with me Emily Stegmeyer. She is a beloved 6th grade teacher at Scandia Elementary. She is also the leader of our student ambassadors, among so many other things within our building. So first, just to give you a picture of Scandia, this is an outline of just the staff that we have, but the important thing to note is that all of these adults respect, care about, and support our students. This is the power of our culture at Scandia Elementary. I'm going to outline a few of our Tier 1 systems for you and some of the work that we did this fall that has continued throughout the entire school year. So our work this fall started with staff in service and really determining what did we need to start, what did we need to stop, and what did we need to continue. We spent time reviewing data, identifying student, classroom, and staff needs, and using that information to drive where we needed to go during this school year. We spent time creating and rebooting systems and processes as a building and working on our culture with staff and students and families. One of our Tier 1 systems is our Positive Behavior Interventions and Support System, so our PBIS system. Some things to note that are that our essential agreements, which are our classroom and school-wide expectation matrices, are the complete basis of our culture. We're looking for students to demonstrate safe, respectful, and responsible behavior in our building, both inside and outside, and then extending into the bus as well. All of our essential agreements are created collaboratively with our students. They're posted throughout the school and in the environment in which they apply. They are explicitly taught and they are referenced regularly. If you take a look at the pictures, the top picture is one from our FIAD class. The yellow paper is an image or a poster that was created by the students about what is sportsmanship. Next to that is Ms. Hoban's bio, and then the essential agreements, the classroom expectations matrix for FIAD class in our gym. The middle image is from one of our 4th grade classes. The top is our school-wide matrix, and then the bottom is their classroom matrix. They created this together, and then it's very small, but on the bottom, they all signed their essential agreements for their classroom, creating that student buy-in, that ownership. The very bottom picture is actually of Miss Emily Stegmeyer's class. This fall, they created their expectations together. I believe you guys had a vote.
Yep. The students listed all the rules that they wanted to have in the school, in our classroom, and it covered the entire board. And then we talked about how practical it would be to have so many rules, and together we brought it down to what we now have as our essential agreements for our classroom.
Again, all of our behavior expectations are explicitly taught. This fall, the first image is a picture of our passport. Students traveled to every student location within our building, and they reviewed the expectations for that area. And then in traditional Scandia fashion, there was a star sticker that they placed in each one of the circles indicating that they had reviewed the expectations, they knew them, they understood them, they bought into them, and they could share that with their families when they went home. We really needed to look at generating student buy-in. How could we celebrate our students? One piece of PBIS is a reward system. So ours are star tickets, but we needed to spend some time reimagining our system. The previous system, students had lost some steam. They weren't seeing enough payoff, or they weren't seeing it quickly, or it wasn't meaningful to them. We spent time this summer, that top image, kind of creating a menu of things that students could earn, meaning time, experiences. So it could be a walk with Miss Ashley. It could be sitting in the teacher's chair for the day. It could be playing a game with the school counselor, eating lunch with the principal, but experiences. Trading in star tickets for things that are meaningful for you at school to create those lasting memories for our students. We also needed to generate student buy-in. So by creating that list and then allowing classrooms to add to that list. Was there anything you wanted to add on that?
Yeah, so in Mr. Mancini's class, which is the class I'm in, we have a digital wheel that has a bunch of different kind of things we can get once we get 15 star tickets. And the other day I spun it and got a Pop Choice, which was really cool. There's other things like choose your seat for the day. We always change ours. And then there's also a real wheel in Miss Stegmeyer's class that I know everyone in her class really enjoys spinning.
Another interesting, I had to share this because something I find really interesting is in one of our 4th grade classrooms, they have, don't quote me on this name, it might be the Stinky Sock Award or the Sock Award. And the reason that this always sticks with me is all it is that they don't have to wear their shoes in the classroom during instruction. And the amount of students that will trade in star tickets to be able to just be in their socks while they're sitting at their desk is astonishing. So these things are meaningful for students. They're impactful, and that is what we want. You can also see on the bottom our bucket fillers. Bucket fillers are given by staff members to students for those moments when we stop and think, wow, what you just did blew me away. It was so far above and beyond expectations that these students need to be recognized. Nora just earned one a week or two ago, but our students are recognized. A certificate is printed, signed, they are announced over the loudspeaker, and they come down to have their picture taken, receive their certificate, and then of course we post it on social media for their families and friends to see. We also needed to work on our classroom and school-wide celebrations. One piece of data that we pulled and we noticed needed some work was our lunchroom. It was getting loud, maybe students weren't demonstrating the expected behaviors that we hoped that they would. So when the team came together, we pulled the data and we created an incentive. The bottom left is a star chart. Every class has one, and they choose their own earning, their own reward. And again, it's time, it's experiences. It's usually games, reading to their classroom buddies, which I'll discuss later, extra recess, things like that. So they fill up their TENS chart with stars that are given by the cafeteria staff, and then they earn those things. We also have school-wide goals, and we needed to involve student voice. This is one of the times that I reached out to the student ambassadors and I said, I need a list of as many things that you can think of that we can use for school-wide rewards. They gave me a list of about 20 to 30 things, and we narrowed it down to about 8 that we could make happen in this school year. From there, we had a school-wide vote where students got to pick their top 3, and we literally counted every vote to ensure we had the numbers right. And then as we filled that fish tank with the star tickets that students had traded in, we held those school-wide celebrations, pajama days, a movie at lunch, extra recess, and then don't tell the students, but the next line is lunch outside. So we're hoping for some dry weather because we are almost there. Okay. We also needed to think about our all-school in-person celebrations and what we could bring back and what excited students to be in our building and how can we celebrate not only students but staff and provide leadership opportunities for our students. We brought back our Shine Time. It was virtual for a time last year and then at the beginning of this year, and then we quickly moved it into in-person unless we are doing something like an art hub where students need to be in the room with their art supplies to do it. But we celebrate students, we celebrate classrooms, teachers, and then our students have the opportunity to be leaders in front of their entire building. Pre-K led the Pledge of Allegiance, 4th grade did the greeting, and one of the grades did a share. So this engages the entire school. They step into the middle or to the front of the entire school and lead everybody in their activity. We also have classroom buddies. So this has been a long program at Scandia. I don't know if you want to share.
We've had classroom buddies since I started teaching at Scandia in 2000. And an older class partners up with a younger class. And throughout the year, maybe twice a month, you get together with your buddy class and do different activities. My class partners with a 2nd grade classroom. And next Monday, they're going to come and share with us a project, a big report that they've been working on. And then after they share with their buddy gives them some feedback and praise, then they just go outside and play for a little while together to build the community, build the relationships. We help each other with bus safety in the fall, and together they make a bus safety poster. The activities range from something simple like that to a cohort field trip. So 2nd graders and 6th graders go on a field trip at the end of the year together, and they spend time together celebrating the success of the school year. Every grade level has a partner buddy class, and we really support each other through that time. We review essential agreements. You saw in some of the pictures where there was a big student standing by the poster of expectations and kind of teaching them to the younger student, and it's a great opportunity to build those relationships with kids.
Yeah, so like Ms. Stegmeyer said, 6th grade partners with the 2nd grade buddies, and on Monday, they're sharing something with us, and we're also sharing something with them. Every week we do me-books, and last week we did a me-book on our 2nd grade buddy, and we interviewed them, so made them feel really special. Mine said they thought they were a celebrity after I interviewed them.
So they're printing 2 copies of their page, one to put in their book and then one to give to their buddy, which was a report basically on the second grader. So we're inflating some heads as well, but that's all right. They feel very excited about it.
So another time when our students can demonstrate leadership and be mentors to those in the building. So some pictures of classroom buddies, again, redoing the expectations or reviewing those in January. Data suggested that every year in January, undesired behaviors increase. So we took an opportunity in January to pair the buddy classes to review those expectations to make sure that students knew what the environment was requiring of them and then felt safe, felt comfortable, and were able to move through successfully. More classroom buddies, second graders reading their stories that they wrote to their sixth graders, first grade playing games with their fourth grade buddies, fourth grade performing for their buddies. And third grade just did a dinosaur project with kindergarten and the Little Rangers, so they have both of those grades. Student ambassadors is another area where we can leverage our students to create leaders and provide mentorship.
So student ambassadors is something that we're very thankful to have back at Scandia. It's a program that is the stipend for the leader, the adult leader, is paid through a grant provided for us by the Scandia Elementary Enrichment Foundation. And students are selected by their teachers to be a part of student ambassadors. Students in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade are part of this group. They meet once a month in the morning before school. So it is a time commitment for them to have to get up a little early and come to school for a 45-minute meeting before the day starts. They have completed all sorts of different projects throughout the year, ranging from volunteering to promoting school climate through spirit days, having a voice, like Mrs. Carafel said, in school-wide decisions, and supporting classrooms throughout the building. Do you want to speak to a little bit more about how our meetings work?
Yeah, so our meeting works kind of a lot like yours. It starts with the secretary and reading off notes and making sure the minutes are good. And then I get to bang a gavel, which is one of my favorite things.
She has a gavel. That's pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. Yep, so as the president, Nora calls the meeting to order, and we follow Robert's rules, and the students make motions, and we raise our hands just so we, it's a little more, it's a junior version, Robert's junior, but it's pretty awesome to see them in the leadership role. I create an agenda, and then Nora, as president, just runs through the agenda, and I sit at my desk and occasionally just poke my head around and say, don't forget to talk about that, and she just runs the meeting. It's really, really spectacular.
Yeah, so last year when I went to Scandia for my first time in 5th grade, I also got to be a student ambassador, and I really enjoyed it. We get to do a lot of activities outside of school too. Like, we volunteer a lot, like at the carnival coming up on the 17th. We get to volunteer for maybe even doing a game. I'm volunteering for the setup shift so I can have fun, just to make sure. And we do have a lot of leadership. I feel like a lot of people in my class respect me more. And a lot of people will say, oh, you're a student ambassador, whenever I'm wearing this lanyard in the halls. So that was a really good idea.
Yeah, and you'll notice too that representatives come from 4th through 6th grade. So every student ambassador has an adopted classroom that they're responsible for checking in once or twice a month to say, do you have ideas that we need to bring forth? What issues do you have? Things like that. And who do you adopt? What grade level?
So me and another student ambassador, Annalise, we have Mrs. Lutt's class, and we tell them about what happened in our meetings. We sometimes do would you rathers, and sometimes we read a lot.
Yep.
They really enjoy us there, and they're very quiet and listen to us when we go there, which is really cool for us. And like Ms. Carafel said before, we got to have a bunch of different decisions on what happens in the school. Like, we came up with a bunch of different things for the alphabet days to count down. We came up with some stuff for the
fish tank, which I thought a lot of the kids really enjoyed, and especially when the kids got to vote on which movie to watch. Ended up being Happy Feet, not my favorite, but a lot of people enjoyed it. But yeah, we have a lot of student voice, and that really helped me do it for a second time, and it makes me feel important, which is something that I really enjoy.
This is a picture of some of our student ambassadors. There are a few that aren't pictured. They weren't there that day, but some nice work there. So really, what I want to get at is that we are data driven. We have multiple teams that meet monthly and pull apart our building data. We're looking at instructional data, formative assessments, classroom assessments, but for the purpose of what I've discussed today, it's really been focused on behavioral data. How can we leverage our tier 1 systems to make positive change in our building and to keep that momentum? This is a graphic from our Swiss system, which is where we enter all major and minor referrals. This is average referrals per day, per month. But what I really want to highlight is this next one. Green represents last year, and the blue represents this year. So average referrals per day, per month. This is the power of pulling apart data, having teachers engage, and making change in your school. Using student buy-in, using positive rewards and celebrations, this is the change that is possible. Our work is rooted in data. Again, we are observing and reacting to data trends. We're looking at locations, grades, classrooms, time of year, types of behaviors, and sometimes specific students to see how can we support them? How and what can we put in place to make our students feel safe and comfortable so they can be successful in our school? We review previous year data to anticipate needs, to understand the trends. What proactive steps can we take? We discuss this at monthly meetings. Again, in January when we retaught the expectations, that's a perfect example of when we looked at a trend and knew what was coming and took proactive steps. And then again, we listen to staff. Classroom observations can lead us to student and teacher needs. That anecdotal information can tell us, can give us a pulse on the building and help us intervene and direct positive change. Support, respect, and relationships. This is the power of a building's positive culture. This is Scandia Elementary IB World School, and this is Forest Lake Area Schools. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Nora. Thank you, Miss Emily Stegmeyer.
Any questions or comments?
Well, that was really great. That was exciting. Thank you so much. I want to say, just to Mrs. Careful, I just want to say, honestly, I just want to express my sincere gratitude for you being here this year. I really do. You've led Scandia through this pivotal time. The culture changes you brought are truly transformative. And you're present every day in the hallways, in the cafeteria, recess, everywhere. You're always positive, you're encouraging, you're engaged. You're re-engaging with our community, with our parents, you're creating community. And that chart you just showed, I think that it is super amazing, but it also makes me just a little bit sad too, to look at last year over this year. And I just think that that is the impact that a principal has. And that is true. So anyway, I also want to thank Mrs. Stegmeyer for your many contributions to Scandia, and we're so sad that you're going to be leaving, but we're super happy that you're staying in the district. And I want to thank you for the tradition of the Me books at Scandia. Every year she does these Me books. I mean, they're amazing. The kids work all year to put these together, and it's kindergarten memory first, second, and, you know, favorite, you know, this or that, or buddy. I mean, and, you know, you go to grad parties, you probably see them, and they're on, you know, people's grad table, and I mean, what a keepsake. And you're the only teacher that, I think Mr. Hansen did it for a couple years, but you know, you've really taken the lead on that. So that is really amazing. And Nora, that was really wonderful. You're a very good speaker. That was really impressive for a sixth grader. And I do have a suggestion for the ambassadors. I like how you said that first grade was quiet and listens to you when you go in there. So I'm wondering if you can help in the cafeteria. I think that would be really great. We need ambassadors in the cafeteria.
So I don't know if I can do that for my own grade.
No, just the first grade. Just come in for the first grade. That would be really great.
You've done really well. We're sending you to the front.
But it was just wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so we're not lost on the comment. Ms. Stegmeyer is going to be taking her instructional
Oh, yes,
skills
yes,
to
yes.
the instructional coach
Yes,
position.
thank you. Yes.
In force like next year.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
It was just a phenomenal presentation, and thank you for all your hard work. I just want to ask, the tier 1, you were talking about the essential agreements. Is that all taken from a model that could be replicated in other buildings, or is it just something new?
It is. So the PBIS district-wide systems, ours are phrased a little bit differently because of the tie-in with IB.
Correct. So we use the phrase essential agreement because essential agreements are an IB framework component. And so we've kind of zippered the two ideas together since we are an international baccalaureate school.
I was wondering the origin, and I love the idea of the passport and going around to your areas in your building and revisiting what those expectations are. That is such a great idea. How many people are in the ambassadors group and how are they selected? Just curious.
There's 2 per classroom. So there's 4 4th graders, there's 4 5th graders, and then we have 6 6th graders. We kind of bring up those older leaders before leaving for middle school. We also have our leadership council, which is our president, vice president, and secretary. So we wanted to have a larger population of 6th graders.
And the way we get chose is we have to write an essay on what it means to be a leader and a bunch of the different IB traits we have here, which one of my favorite, I think, is principled. And so I have written that essay twice, and I have, I think, done a good job both times.
Yeah. So after we get the student submissions with their essays, parent permission, all of that, then those essays go to the homeroom teachers, and they look through them and select the students that they feel would best represent their class based on those essays.
Well, there's just proof that there's so much power and positivity in the great leaders that we have out in our Scandia building. And when I was out there for the Art and Academic Fair, I saw your star chest just overloaded with star tickets. It's just amazing how there's a lot of buy-in. And you mentioned 6th grade buddies. I'm so glad to hear that's still going on. I remember my daughter did it, and she's 30 now, but she was sent down because the 2nd grader's mom told him it was 6th grade buddy day, and he was literally crying all morning. So she got to go down there to cheer him up and say, it'll be tomorrow, I'll be back. So what a wonderful connection for students in the building. So thanks for all you do.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I would just echo Member Christensen's comments, and I do know that you're missed in your old role by one of my students at home. The only one we have left, I guess, at home student. But it's great to see the transformation in behaviors out there at Scandia, and it just shows what an impact a change in a system can have in leadership there. So I really appreciate the work you've done out there, and it's great to see that for our Scandia students.
Teachers are powerful.
Yeah, I think everyone in Scandia can agree we all love you. I think you're probably my favorite principal I've ever had.
It's an honor to be there, and the teachers they're amazing. So
They are, truly are. Wow.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming out, and I very much appreciated you tying it back to academics and, I mean, because that's what, helping those students feel like they're a ranger, that they belong, that they're part of the system, just makes that learning so much easier for them especially when they're struggling with stuff. So thank you for that.
Can I just say one more thing quick? I'm sorry. That's why I write things down, because I forget. I did want to say that I said all those compliments to you, but I also want to say that I want to make sure people understand you're a very collaborative leader. Like, you empower the teachers and then they go. So you're doing an awesome job. But everybody, the culture just feels so different. Everybody is coming together. I didn't want to overlook, what the teachers are doing. But you've opened that up, that the teachers feel comfortable that they can do that. And I just think it's building wide. It's really amazing, so thank you.
Yeah, so please bring back to your staff our appreciation for their work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Forest Lake Area Schools American Indian Parent Advisory Group, Brad Ward.
Thank you, members of the board. Dr. Massey, this is our annual presentation with an update on the workings of the Forest Lake Area Schools Parent Advisory Committee. I have with me tonight Rebecca Wolf, who is our chairperson, I think we go with, and Theo Marcel, who is our American Indian Education Coordinator. They'll say more as their parts in the presentation come up. So what I would like to do is just remind you of a couple of things. This comes from statute, but highlighted in particular, academic achievement, increase graduation rate, and to improve the school climate for American Indian students in a culturally appropriate way. The ways that we are going to do that and the ways that we set up our state plan are documented with those 5 bullets. And that is student academic support and mentoring, family community resources and advocacy, community cultural events and activities, curriculum resource, and helping students figure out what is it that they're going to do when they leave Forest Lake Area Schools. Hopefully you'll get a sense for how that's working throughout our presentation. A couple of reminders for you. American Indian education comes with 2 different buckets and plans that we're working with. In fact, I was working on the one on the left, which is the federal program through Title VI, and that's a part of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, and it's been in place for several years. On the right side is the state program. The state program is fairly new. I think we're in about the 6th year of doing that, and there continues to be refinement as we go through that particular program. My role is to give an update on some of the data. So you were hearing from data and how it drives things at Scandia. We have that as a part of our program as well. The first one is one of the long-standing difficulties, and that is determining who actually is and qualifies to be a part of the American Indian Education Program. And you can see 2 very different bars when you look at this slide. The red bar is showing the state's identification, and that is a self-report that families and students are able to do. The blue bars, the much smaller one, is with the federal program. This requires that there is tribal verification and that all family or students have the ability to track to at least a grandparent who has tribal affiliation. One of the things that we are really trying to do is to identify our students, and especially to help them understand that they are not alone. One of the comments that we hear most frequently from students is the statement that they did not realize that there were other Native students in their class, at their school, and so forth. Moving on to the assessment data. What we are going to do is highlight a couple of programs that are in effect throughout the district and how they inform our data. We are going to be looking at MCA scores as well as our FAST program. Starting with FAST, I have some data measuring the growth from A Math and A Reading. This is all a part of the MTSS program that allows school systems, principals, and the school data teams to inform their instruction and their professional development. Starting with looking at the growth level for math. This is A math, and I put a key because it's kind of small on the bottom, but you can see that red is flat, yellow is modest, green is what we would expect for growth, and blue is aggressive or exceptional growth. When you look at this, I've put an asterisk by the final 2 years. That would be this year and last year. And the asterisk is noting the native column. And what you can see when you look at those is that you can see we have increased growth. However, we are concerned that when looking down at the red area, we can see that there are more students. While collectively we're doing better, we also have some students who are not, and that's something that we want to address. So this is math.
Right, real quick, what is the sample size or the student size in those last 2 years, for instance, in the flat growth?
So if you squint, you can see that there's about 10. So if you look at the 23, 24, it's about 10, 14, 19, and 13 in the native section. And then the non-native students are in the hundreds. So yes, we are looking at a much smaller sample size, so we can have big changes by a relatively smaller amount of students. Thank you for that clarification. When we're looking at reading, we have decreased growth if we compare this year to last year. This is fall to winter, and you can see that, again, like we had the previous year, we have more students that are in the flat area, and that applies to both native and non-native students. And again, those are things that we in teaching and learning, as well as school principals and school leadership teams, are addressing. When looking at the achievement in MCA, again, looking at the last 2 years, you can see that the gap exists, but it shrinks. In both cases, at last year's MCA scores, collectively the system did better. However, we did not close the gap. It shrunk, but didn't close. That's math. Looking at reading, this time it did not. In fact, it did not decrease. It got a little bit larger, and it remains significant. So this is something that we definitely want to address. One of those ways is coming up soon. I'm going to pass it over to Rebecca and Theo to take most of it from here.
I have a brief question maybe before you pass it on there. How do those numbers compare with the rest of the state? Do you have that later in the presentation, or can you just get us a really high
among native students?
Yes. Yeah.
Much like the rest of the district data, we do better than the collective state, but the trends are the same.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, so Anin Buju in the way Magani Dog now Quail say that the goal. Mekanakan Dan Kasuka Squadji Mikagan to Chabat. So I'm Theo, I'm from Leech Lake, Minnesota, the Leech Lake Band of Ojibwe. What I said there is just, it's a formal introduction how I greet my elders and my families up north. Saying what my clan is, the Turtle Clan, and my role in our communities are actually educators. And so, but yeah, I'm from Leech Lake.
I'm Rebecca. I've known you guys for kind of a long time now. After all of that, I get to talk about the fun stuff. So first I'm going to do our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the Forest Lake Area School District 831 operates on the traditional ancestral territories of the Ojibwe and the Wapakude Band of the Dakota Nation. We collectively stand as visitors and relatives on these homelands. We honor the indigenous peoples who have stewarded the land through the generations and their ongoing contributions to this territory from time immemorial, seated in the treaties of 1825 and 1837. We acknowledge the historical and ongoing injustices that have been committed against these nations, and we wish to interrupt this legacy, beginning with the truth-telling and action and ending with reconciliation. We continually support and advocate for the Native nations in this territory and affirm their tribal sovereignty. We look forward to fostering a greater understanding of and stronger ties with the Dakota and Ojibwe people on the land we currently call Forest Lake, Minnesota. Cool thing about Forest Lake is Sunrise Creek coming right off of North Shore, going under North Shore into the lake. That's traditionally the boundaries between Ojibwe and Dakota. Most places don't have both. It is a either or. So we are very lucky that we have both in our back history.
So,
go ahead.
when you look at this, the Parent Advisory Committee is a requirement, again, from statute. And they have an important role in the work that we do in the district in teaching and learning. And that is the work with the Title VI program, which I mentioned earlier, the State American Indian Educational Aid Plan and Budget, that's approved in November. The District Achievement and Integration Plan requires the input from the committee, as well as verification of compliance. You may recall from a previous meeting where they gave us a vote of concurrence, and that's not something that all American Indian Parent Advisory Committees do.
No. Now I get to talk about my committee. It's my favorite thing. So it is a group of people in the community. You don't have to be Native, you don't have to have children, but we obviously encourage everybody who does have a Native ancestry to come. We do monthly meetings. We have done 5 family fun nights this year. We started a cultural beading class. We do that twice a month. That's happening right now. So after this, I'm going to sneak out and go hit it because it's really super fun. Our 5 things we've done this year is we've made friends with a lot of people. Our network is growing. And in November, we had a guy come. His name is Tony, and he runs a game company. He invents these games, or he didn't invent the games. They're old traditional games, but he has updated them, and they're to help teach children Ojibwe. And they're really fun. So he came out, had a game night, and taught us all his games. We bought a bunch of them. And then, so now we've got all of these resources, and there's so many letters in Ojibwe. I'm trying so hard, and it is so difficult. But these little ones, they get it. It just clicks, and you hear them speaking to each other, and it's something very, very special. January, we had movie night on the learning stairs at the high school, which was really fun. February, we were supposed to have a performer, but he wasn't able to come, so we just pulled out our games and we pulled out our craft thing, and we were gonna cancel, and then I talked to a couple of people, and they're like, no, please don't cancel. We don't need a activity, just come. So we had everybody, we had, I think, 30 people that night, and everybody just hung out and had a good time. And then we had Michael Charette. He comes from, oh gosh, where is he from? He's from way up by Bayfield. I'm not sure what reservation he lives on, but he's kind of an off-the-grid guy, and he does performing. He does flutes, he makes flutes, he plays flutes, and he does storytelling, and it's such a great event. He comes every year, or he has, I think this was his 4th year that he joined us, and he's become kind of a good friend too. And so that's been super fun. And then a couple weeks ago, Theo led our group and taught us all about Ojibwe florals, and we all made our own little design, and it was really fun. Our activities, we do, on our beading class, we started that last May, I think. Sometimes we have 6 people, sometimes we have 35. It's really hard to tell who's gonna come. The little ones, we usually start on the big fat pony beads, and then they can make like little animals. We have a lot of lizards floating around in our group right now. And some of them have very long tails, and some of them, and watching these kids just make these connections is amazing. Like, I'm gonna call my grandma. My grandma said she used to do this when she was little. So it's been really fun to watch that. And I'm learning. I didn't grow up with most of this, so I'm learning along with, and it's been really good. And it's hard, but we're learning all together, and it's been fun. 2 weeks ago, I was at the Minnesota Indian Education Association conference. It was up in, Hinckley, yeah, not Mille Lacs. It was in Hinckley. And that's where we do a lot of our networking. There's sessions all day long. We've met so many people, and we're really building our network within Minneapolis and the greater state, which has been really good resource-wise. We've been learning things from other people. When I have questions, there's groups that I can go to and say, hey, we're trying to do this, who has suggestions? Or do you have a person that you can refer me to that could maybe come and speak to our group? And that's been great. Starting this year, we did the Minnesota Department of Education. We joined their Dreamcatcher program, which has been really, really good. We're still in the very early stages of it. This is another thing that came out of the Education Association last year. Another member and I went to their little pull-out session, and we learned about it. Their director is going to come, I think, and do professional development for us next year. I really hope you can all come. She's amazing and really wonderful to listen to. It trains school staff to make better evaluations and include cultural perspectives and decisions regarding students' interventions and special education identification. Native children are disproportionately moved into the EVD programs a lot of the time because there is quite a bit of like cultural and historical stuff that if you don't know, you don't know, you don't know that. So it's really hard for someone to come in and say, hey, there are no cultural problems here when you don't know if there are or not. So it's been kind of a training program, and that's gonna make everything better for everybody. We got a new logo this year. It was very exciting. We've been talking about it for a couple years. We finally found a person, and he made us a beautiful logo. I think we're gonna talk about that in a little bit. Okay. And then this year also knew we're gonna do summer programming. We're gonna try and do a canoe trip. We're going to do beading all throughout the summer. We're hoping to do a movie night and then another game night, just to keep connections within our families. Oh, now we're going to talk about our logo. So we got a new logo. It's very exciting. We've got 2 Forest Lake graduates. It's really hard to tell, but on the stoles, there's an FL on either side. The female one holds an eagle feather that symbolizes the Great Spirit Creator. The male graduate wears a bandolier bag, and he has 2 eagle feathers in his hair. The feathers on the left side of the cap are, it says, move your thing over onto the left when you graduate. And then the florals represent connections to the Great Spirit, source of knowledge, medicine, and food. And we're really proud of this. The process was kind of fun. We ended up meeting this guy through another person we talked to who made our graduation stoles for us. We met at Craft Fair 2 years ago, I think. So that's been kind of exciting. So everything is very interconnected with how we are kind of making all of these new connections, which has been super fun. Here's some pictures from, I think these are all family fun nights. We have our beading stuff. We send out these every month to invite people. First one is our movie night. Second one was game night with Tony. The 2 on the either end was with Michael, and then the one in the middle is beading. So that is the work of a 4th grader. She made up her own flamingo pattern, and she did that in 2 sessions, which is ridiculously hard and kind of crazy. And this one, we're starting to get invitations from other groups and hey, can you invite your students to this? Hey, will you throw this out on your Facebook page? So those are just a couple of the things that we've been invited to, or our students have been invited to. We've got a couple more amazing beaders up in the top. They've come to 3 things and have completed 6 projects each. And it's been kind of fun. And then all the pictures on the bottom are from our Ojibwe florals a couple weeks ago. Everybody made their stuff. Everybody was very happy to show us. And then we have tacos sometimes, and they're really good.
So I wanted to mention that one of the things that we've been doing through the support of the parent committee is supplementing some of the books. We know that standards-based books that have connections to students and their cultural background is a great way to enhance both their knowledge in the Native stories, but also to enhance their interest. And so on the right-hand side, there was a guide that was produced that contains over 600 standards based to the Minnesota ELA standards K-12, and it also includes, as a part of it, links to Minnesota-based Native authors from the 11 different tribal nations that are contained within our boundaries. And that's all through the support of the parent committee, as is our summer book reads. And you can see that we've had thus far nearly 70 teachers who have read books over the summer.
All right, so I'm going to chime in here and share about a little bit more about what I do. So I definitely connect with these students. Mentorship is a really big thing with young people. When I was young in school, just what Brad and what you mentioned was the confusing nature of being a young Native person in schools and feeling like you're the only one. And one big thing I love mentioning to these young students is that there's no specific look to being Native American. I share my lineage. My family's from Turtle Mountain. My great-grandma, she's Ojibwe. She barely speaks English still. She has blue eyes. And her sister, who had passed away about 10 years ago, only spoke Ojibwe. And we're all from Turtle Mountain. And so that's one big thing I like sharing with these young people, because that sense of identity can get them kind of confused. But what I like to share with them is there's no specific look. It's more of a culture and a way of knowing. And that's what I like to bring to the students and what we learn about. And supporting their academic goals, that one's been a big one this year. I've had a few students that have switched over to the community schools, but I still keep in contact through email. And another really big thing with that is actually guiding them on how to actually reach out for that support academically. When I was young in high school, it was hard for me to reach out for help. And what I learned from student mentors that I had when they were seniors, and I was a freshman at Neosho High School, I didn't realize that how much support that I really needed from older students. And that's another thing that I'm hoping to show that with these high school students, when we connect with middle school and elementary students, is that we can mentor these younger people as well. And then the last part there too is affirming that the identity and revitalizing our indigenous epistemologies through cultural-based lessons. One thing I want to share with that is, it's not listed here, but research that was done, I think the previous administration from Canada, Trudeau's father, I think it was under the Bush administration as well, but the closer that Native youth are connected to their, like how you say, cultural practices, and in a sense their cultural identity, they have a higher self-esteem, and that higher self-esteem has better chances for academic success. And that's a big thing that I emphasize with these young people, is that connecting back to this, doing these activities during school, connecting with each other and with me as a mentor, it's a how you say, a sure way forward for academic success. It helped for me, it helps with the other students I've worked with in districts years beforehand. And I really emphasize that part of connection to knowing yourself as an Indigenous person, because like I said, there's no specific look to what a Native American looks like. There's no specific look at all. Another thing I want to share too, which was really cool with some of our activities, one thing that's been a really big hit with not just the middle school students, but high school students as well, was actually sharing and teaching about Anishinaabe Ojibwe medicines. And the word medicine, it's a contemporary thing. It's more or less plant knowledge. And with some of the knowledge that comes with certain plants, there's teachings behind that. And one really cool way I like to look at it is when a student's holding their sweetgrass, they're having a bad time. I worked with a young student was at Columbia Elementary School. They're having some tough times in class, and there was a teaching I shared with them about sweetgrass, about the braids and why we braid it in 7 strands. And it's about being calm. It's a sweetness medicine. It's a kindness medicine. And over time, the student was able to actually have some, I say, behavioral corrections, being able to step out of class and be able to remember those teachings. And for me, that's really important, because it's, how do you say, it's structured at home, but they kind of miss that in the school. So having me be there to help guide them and show them that there's connection to your identity still. You can still focus at school, which is important. Another really cool, and that was fun, are the medicine bags. So another thing too is using deer hide and showing these students the process of how it's made. Brain tanning and skinning. I'll show them videos of how I used to do it with my family back in Leech Lake. And these medicine bags are important. I always carry mine with me. It's like little charms that my grandfather gave me. I carry those with me, and I ask those students to identify what are the things that bring them close to themselves, that help them feel connected to their identity and their families. And we had students that brought in marbles. There was one student that brought in a bear claw, which I thought was pretty cool. No idea where he got it from. He said he got it off Etsy. I was like, they sell those, huh? But to me, it's really fun. It's encouraging to see this, because, how do you say, at the beginning of the year, there was a set of like 4 or 5 students that were really shy. But the more they became comfortable, they're actually reaching out for help through these activities, saying, hey, Theo, can I talk to you after this for a few minutes? We talk about my grades. And that's something that's the biggest part right there, is like having them opening up and feel and become more vulnerable. A lot of these students, they seem really terse when I'm first meeting them, but that vulnerability is important, so you can connect with them and really understand where they're lacking, whether it's in school or outside of school as well. Another one that was really fun, as you can see on the picture, was our University of Minnesota field trip. We got to visit COIN, which is the Circle of Indigenous Nations, and that was really eye-opening. There was 3 students there that were working on a PhD for Ojibwe and Dakota language, and we got to connect with them. They shared some stories with us. They shared what their academic journey was like, and there was one freshman that was in the building, in the COIN building, that was talking to the students about what their first year experiences were, you know. The food, gaining weight, 20, 30 pounds, your first year at school, how hot it is in the dorm rooms. And the students were like, and that one thing that really caught their attention is that U of M, you can have single dormitories, you don't have to share, but it's pretty limited. So there's a few students that were excited by that. And the bandolier bag was really cool. There's a small business, it's either a business or a nonprofit that works with the schools, but in the logo that we have here, as you were mentioning, you can see the bags on the side here. So traditionally, those big bandolier bags had plant medicines from our families that had helped us, healing medicines, the stories that we share within our tribes. A lot of these stories are creation stories. A really good one, like to share with the students, the story of the sweetgrass being a kindness medicine. And there's a few of those bandolier bags that are on canvases that we get to color those in. And I get to share with them with the indigenous knowledge that I have about why these plants are important. And then I'd say another really cool one that the students enjoyed were the floral designs and keepsake boxes. So outside here, I'm a woodworker and carpenter as well, and crafting these small boxes and showing students how to care for them. To me, it's really cool because it's a sense of responsibility. They're putting the time into it and they're working with their hands. And they're still learning about Ojibwe florals, especially the purpose of each specific flower. It's like the story of the lady slipper being a powerful medicine to help the young girl that was passing away in the village. Even showing, what else, red willow, the way those flowers sprout from the buds, and you're able to pick those and make certain medicines and use it to give to people when you're saying thank you. So teaching these kids some really, I want to say beautiful virtues and values that my family have held for the longest time. So you can go to the next slide now.
So I'm going to talk about some growth. We're always trying to grow. We want to be more visible. We want to have a larger group. But I think we got another 30 students this year. We've grown quite a bit in the last 18 months, which is very, very exciting. We're seeing more people come to our events, which is great. Let's see, we would love to expand back into the elementary sites. We need a Theo for little guys. So he's a little stretched right now. So we're hoping to find a person in the fall to do that. We would love it if more people showed up to our PAC meetings. That would be wonderful. And obviously the end goal is to make sure everybody is safe, happy, and healthy. We really would love to continue our academic growth. And I think last year, every one of our seniors graduated, which is fantastic. This year, I think we're on track for the same thing. I'm not positive, I haven't seen the data, but I think as of February,
we'll find out.
were. Yeah. So,
Fourth quarter is important.
It happens.
And one last thing I'd like to mention, a teacher reached out to me in November. That's a corn husk doll, and that was one of the native lessons that we had shared that they had incorporated into their classroom, and actually from Scandia.
The culmination of our year is our honoring ceremony. This is our third one that we've done. We used to do a thing for seniors only, and then when we were coming out of COVID, we're like, this has been really, really hard for everybody. Let's just have a big party for everyone. Everyone can come. And it was so good. It was so, so good. So now we've decided that's what we're gonna do. So it's on Tuesday, and I would love it if any of you would like to join us. We've got dinner, we've got a speaker, we've got a drum group coming. He's coming from Wisconsin. It's gonna be great. And that's all I've got for you. Do you have anything else?
One thing I wanted to mention that was shared at the beginning is about coming to these family nights that you don't need to be native or to have that registration. That's something I've noticed with middle school and high school students, that there's about a dozen non-native students at the middle school that have came forward at being really curious, and they sat through one of my sessions and they're excited to learn more. And I'll share with them a phrase in Ojibwe, which is Mashkawizimagat Yamana Madiziman. That means that the good life of the original people, the good life of Indian people, it's able to be shared. And that's one thing I'm always emphasizing with my students, that what we learn here, you have to share with everybody, share that knowledge with those people. Come into these activities, and especially with these family nights. With high school students too, we have non-native students that will come by and say hi. I've given out bear grease medicines to a lot of non-native students because they've seen how well it was working with the students that I'm working with, such as with blemishes, wounds, and so they're really curious about these Indian medicines that we've been making in class. So that's one thing I really want to emphasize, is that the way that we learn, what we're sharing, is open for everybody. And I would really encourage you to visit on a family night, because like I've been told and taught, that the knowledge that we receive is not ours to have. It's not ours to hold on to and be stingy. You have to share that with everybody. And a great leader that was part of the American Indian movement that passed away about 7 years ago, Eddie Benton Benai, one of the founders, he's a family member. He says we have to come together. We have to share with the world. We don't have to hide anymore. And to me, that's very important, because in order for the world to heal, for our communities to heal, we have to understand one another. And it's been really cool to have non-native students from middle school and high school walk by and ask questions. And that's why I love that one of the books that teachers are reading over the summers, was it everything you wanted to know about Indians?
The Afraid to Ask.
Yeah,
and
and
Troyer.
that's a book that they also use in workshops and professional developments in Minneapolis for organizations that want to have a better understanding of Indigenous communities. But that's what I wanted to share. If there's anything else that you want.
Yeah, so you're invited on Tuesday to hear more.
Got a lot of food coming. So much food coming. So worth it just for that. But also you get to see all of these kids. Something I started in January, we had some technical difficulties at movie night, and so we had like all these kids sitting on the learning stairs and nothing happening. So while we were trying to figure it out, I'm like, hey, so what's good? What's happened good since I've seen you last? And they were all kind of a little shy. And then one kid was like, well, he got student of the month, like kind of tattling on his brother. And then another kid's like, I went snowboarding and I didn't die. I'm like, that's awesome. So every kid, now I make them tell me something good that's happened since I've seen them last. And I'm going to make them do that on Tuesday too. So there should be some good stuff happening.
Sense of community. Thank you.
We have that too. It's positive happenings.
It's been really kind of fun. I really, really like hearing what they have to say and what they think is good, and then they're like, I don't have anything good. And then someone always reminds them of something good. So everybody always has something by the end.
Do we have any questions or comments? Go ahead.
So in February, when we did our annual vote, I had a inappropriately timed somewhat objection because we didn't have you guys present. So I'd like to thank you for coming out here and sharing this information with us.
Part of the reason we do it now is because this is Minnesota's Native American Heritage Month. There's a national one in November, but Minnesota has one in May.
Oh, excellent. Well, that makes a ton of sense. And I was disappointed not to see you in February, so thank you again for coming. I had a couple of comments jotted down here about the study of culture and how I think it's great that you're keeping it alive and you're continuing to teach it and how important that is. And Theo, so many of your comments just kind of summed up everything I was thinking all at once, so I don't need to cover that again. One question I did have though, and I know it's May 7th, but if you wouldn't mind sending an email out to the board here on when your events are, how we can learn a little bit more about
Absolutely. I'll make sure every one of you is on my mailing list. I thought you already were, so I apologize for
I
that.
don't remember seeing one for the May 7th one.
Okay.
If I don't have a conflict, I'll like to go on it.
Yeah, please come. You don't need to RSVP.
Weekend on the 8th as well.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, we have plenty of food. So.
All right. Well,
Please
thank
come.
you for coming. What kind of food?
Oh, we were having tacos. We're having fry bread tacos, and we've got the high schools making us cookies, I think, and we're wild rice soup, and probably
Powwow
coffee.
Grounds
Yeah,
from Minneapolis is catering.
It's so good.
Might be all I need to hear.
Yeah, you should definitely come just for that. Plus, you get to see all these amazing students, and they all come across the stage. We give them books and certificates, and Brad coordinates, and he sends out stuff to every single student in the district. They get comments from their teachers on the back of their certificate about what their teachers admire about them, which is really kind of something special. My daughter is a senior this year, and reading about what her teachers think, like I don't get a ton of day-to-day feedback anymore once you hit like a certain level. When you're in like 1st, 2nd grade, you hear every day. In high school, you don't. So it's really kind of, I think, one of my favorite things. So that was, and I can't imagine the logistics behind that, so I very much appreciate your time with that.
And my last comment here is just a thank you, appreciation for helping these students out and be more successful academically.
I just feel it's been a delight to meet you tonight. You certainly get student connectedness, and I want to thank you for being that person and being that mentor to our Native American students. And Rebecca, you have been the driving force for this PAC for so many years, and it's your last year.
Last year, my daughter's graduating, so I'm going to hand it off at the end of summer to someone else.
Thank you for all your dedication to this
Thank you.
program. It's just been so fun to see it grow, and I do want to thank you again for the bag.
You're welcome.
I thought the logo.
With the new logo.
With the new logo, yeah. I threw it on our Facebook page. We're getting merch. We've got merch now.
I just thought this logo was so beautiful.
Isn't it?
Intricate,
We are
but
so pleased with it.
I'm
Our
begging
artist,
for
he's
one.
out of North Dakota. He called us. We had a couple of Zoom meetings. Well, what do you want to get across? What's important to you? And then he's like, I'm going to dream on it. I'm like, you're going to what now? I'm going to dream on it. I'm like, okay. And then he sent us that. I'm like,
It's a year-long process.
yeah, it took a long time, but
beautiful.
it's, I think, worth the wait. We are over the moon with our new logo.
Well, it looks great. We really appreciate you coming out, and we really appreciate the work you guys are doing for us.
Thank you for supporting us in it. Not every district has a supportive school board, so we appreciate it.
All right, we've got our READ Professional Development Report, Director Jacobson.
Chair Raphael, members of the board, Dr. Massey, thank you for letting me join you again tonight. Just going to go back in time and do a little bit of review from our early November visit on the broader READ Act. We're going to dive into the professional development component of this tonight. In part, just to give the board an update on where we are in our planning, and at the same time, try to add a little background and context behind action item 8.3 later on tonight that you'll have an opportunity to vote on. Just a reminder that a year ago, our state legislature passed a number of different statutes that impact public education, one of which was the READ Act, that in part brought a lot of expectations or requirement around professional development that all public school and charter school, charter as part of public, educators need to be a part of, pointing to the fact that beginning this July, school districts need to provide all of their teachers with professional development in the science of reading, an endeavor that we've been in part of for the past 6 or 7 years here in Forest Lake, but now it needs to be mandated for all teachers in certain groups. The state has created a phased approach to this. Phase 1 beginning next year, and up there on the screen, and I'll read for the people at home. Phase 1 includes all early childhood educators in our school district, all classroom teachers at kindergarten through grades 3, reading intervention teachers at K through 12, special education teachers responsible for teaching or supporting reading instruction, K through 12, and any curriculum directors who are responsible for guiding curricular choices, material selection for pre-K through grade 5 need to be part of phase 1 and need to begin doing this training starting next year if they haven't done so already. There's also a phase 2 that would include all classroom teachers in our school district in grades 4 through 6, and then secondary ELA teachers, as well as any EL teachers in grades 4 and above. The state, working with the Minnesota Department of Education and CARE, identified 3 programs that were approved for this training. We reviewed those 3 programs in early November. One of those is a program that we have a long history with, that being LETRS, and that is the program that we plan to move forward with in phase 1 starting next year. Just to give you a quick overview, LETRS has 2 volumes that in total encompass about 100 hours worth of teacher professional learning. That's a huge amount of time if you really begin to think about it in the midst of everything else that teachers do on a regular basis. Our plan is to tackle LETRS Volume 1 next year, which is about half that. It's 48 to 50 hours worth of time, closer to 48. Of the 48 hours, half of which is seat work that teachers need to do individually, going through online modules and doing a lot of reading. And the other half is face-to-face debrief. And our plan is to try to, as best as possible, put as much of this time into the contracted work year, contracted work day for our classroom educators, or teachers going through the training. Our intent is to put those 6-hour debriefs into into designated staff development days. The first happening during workshop week in August, the next one in November, the third one in February, and hopefully, if approved tonight, the fourth one would take place in April. The reason why we're spacing them out the way that we do is because there's about 6 hours of that individualized work that I talked about a moment ago that needs to happen as teachers go into those debriefs. So there's some preparation time outside of that work, outside of those staff development days that teachers will need to do in order to have those debriefs and feel prepared for those. And so our plan is to space them out so teachers have a reasonable amount of time to do the seat work going into each unit debrief. And we're hopeful that we can pull off that last one in April. The other piece to keep in track of is that early childhood is involved as well. And these are, in our district, hourly employees that work with our youngest learners, pre-kindergarten. And that program, Letters is the only one that's approved for early childhood, and so that was an easy selection for us, but also aligns with what we're going to be doing with our other grade levels, K through 3, and the other groups that I mentioned a moment ago. That PD is about 26, 27 hours worth of time, including 2 6-hour debriefs, and our intent would be to place those on the November PD day, giving teachers the time necessary to do all the seat work for Unit 1 and Unit 2. And then we do both unit debriefs on the November PD day. And then again, have worked through the seat work for Units 3 and 4 with a target of on that April day that we're going to vote on here later in the meeting during the month of April. So we've got a lot of plans in place. I've been out visiting with buildings this week, and we'll continue over the next couple of weeks to lay out in greater detail what this plan looks like. And I just wanted to open it up to any questions if you might have any.
So I'm curious, we have about 45 teachers already trained in Letters, is that correct?
That's probably a really good estimate on Letters Volume 1. Okay. And then there's Volume 2 as well. Yep, that sounds about right.
So they're already trained, or they need to complete 1 and 2?
So we have more teachers in phase that are trained in Letters Volume 1, and a smaller group of teachers that are trained in Letters Volume 2. The plans that we have here still involve what we would do with those who are already trained. So those that are already trained wouldn't need to do the seat work. The seat work would really only be for those who have not been able to go through the training yet. But on those PD days, we'd still want to have those teachers who've gone through training at the grade levels that we are working with this next year, to still be involved in science of reading, professional development, and growth. Our plan right now is to give a couple of different options to those teachers, either to work alongside those who are going through the training for the first time in those debriefs, or for them to be able to go into and do activities that might go deeper or extend what they've already been able to learn on the science of reading pieces.
Okay, and it's to our advantage and so beneficial that we already have so many teachers in that completed part of Volume 1 with Letters, correct?
Yeah, I think that's a very accurate statement.
I mean, this mandate is good and very bad in that it just jams up all that time for teachers and leading us to adjust our calendar.
I would say it's more good. It's an exciting hurdle for us to have to get through.
And thank you for all your work on this.
Well, yeah, and I certainly, with so many things I can't take credit by myself, but yeah, I think this is an exciting thing for us to work through, because it's exciting for our kids, our learners long term. But yeah, it'll be a busy next couple of years, not only for our phase 1 but for our phase 2 teachers as they go through it.
And I believe we've been given more money for that, and I'm sure the superintendent will update us.
Yeah, so at the state is going to carry the cost of the registrations for letters for us. And I know that there is hope down at the legislature right now, maybe Dr. Massey can speak with more specificity than I could on this topic, but the notion that there might even be additional resources coming our way to support these efforts here.
There's about $50 million of additional supplemental revenues going into education this year, non-spending. So that's a supplemental budget. 35 million of that is dedicated to compensating teachers to go through letters training, if passed through the Senate and the House. But that's the current bill, I think currently passed in the House.
On Tuesday.
Yep.
Yeah, great, thank you, James.
Anything else?
And just sort of a clarification, so seat work, does that mean like you're sitting in
So that's-
there learning, you have
yeah.
to be in a specific location learning, or what?
Not necessarily location designated. It's just they log into through a portal and they go through a bunch of modules. They have some reading that they need to do on individually, and then they do that 6 hours for each of the units for K and up, or the amounts of time that you see there for early childhood, so that when they go into those debriefs, they can do a couple of things. They can talk about how their implementation of what they did in their seat work has gone for them in their classroom settings as well as get to hear from a letters facilitator or work with a letters trained facilitator on building deeper knowledge around what they did in the seat work piece.
And who does the debriefing, who is that with?
The parent company of Lexia.
Oh.
So we have our own letters facilitators, trained facilitators in our district, which is unique to us. They are a group of highly trained, very knowledgeable people that we have in our school district. And our plan is to, as best, utilize that group, but due to the number of teachers we're going to be training next year, which is going to be more than we have in any given year in the past, we're most likely going to need to lean on a partnership with Lexia, the parent company that owns letters, and their trainers to do this in partnership of some sort.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Would people be interested in taking a break now or after reports?
Either one works for me.
What's that?
No, it's good.
Okay, we have a motion to recess.
Second?
Okay. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Karen, I like how you responded to that. You were right in your seat.
Did she do a jump off?
Yeah.
Did she jump off?
All right, member clerk, please take a roll call.
Yes, member Tyson?
Here.
Member Christensen is here, member Corcoran?
Here.
Member Hagelin is absent, member Peterson?
Here.
Member Rayfield?
Here.
Member Evelyn?
Here. All right, thank you. All right, anyone with positive happenings?
Go ahead, Jill.
She's got a lot.
I said I wanted to cover as many. You love hearing that. You ready? I can go quick.
Yeah, thank you. So, on April 9th, the middle school had their showcase, which I went to, which was really great. The turnout was good, but, you know, it was rescheduled from a different snow day, so it was a little difficult, but there were some wonderful band performances, so that was really exciting. And then on April 12th, I went to the talent show at the high school, which was put on by the National Honor Society, and it was so fun. There was, I think, 12 acts, and it was really fun, and then there were some judges, some staff members. I saw Mr. Caldwell there, of course, and Mr. Hennon, and anyway, and I can't remember which student it was, but they gave awards for first, second, and third, and the student who got second place, he had so much joy on his face. He was so happy. It was just, I don't know, it was really cool. Super cool to see. And then, of course, a bunch of us, you guys probably will all say too, but we went to, Dr. Massey was there, and I was going to say Robert, sorry, Member Rayfield was there, and Member Tyson and Member Corcoran. And it was just, you know, oh, and Member Eveline was there too, I'm sorry, yes, thank you, yep. Anyway, each of you can say your thoughts, but it was wonderful. It was spectacular, so. And of course, there was an amazing tuba solo by Mr. Mathieson, who was the elementary band, and the middle school band teacher. He was really amazing on that tuba. That was really cool. So that concludes my report.
All right, anyone else?
I've been attending multiple trap and skeet shoots for the high school trap and skeet team, and my son did shoot his first 25 of the season Monday, so that was exciting.
How are they doing this year?
Well, it's, you know, they're doing well. We've had a lot of 25 shooters. We've got quite a few kids shooting very well this year compared to last year, so yeah, pretty good.
Anyone else?
I went to the Forest Lake City Council meeting with Member Christensen, and we heard all the city news, which was great to listen to. The new captains and officers were sworn in, Officer Glider, Han McGrath. It was really fun to see that ceremony and to see them take the oath. I also went to the spring showcase of music. It was just phenomenal. It kind of had its own unique flair this year. And at the Music with the Jazz Band, I was watching this girl bass player, and her parents said that she's just taken off being in our band with the jazz band work, that she's just so inspired to learn this bass, and she plays it phenomenal. I mean, she was just having a great time. I also played in the pickleball tournament with Rise, and it was so fun. I got this award. Pickle award. I was Ranger Spirit, Pickleball Ranger Spirit. I was the only one wearing Ranger colors. So, and a couple of the kids said, "Oh, did you have to wear that because you're on the school board?" I'm like, no, I like to wear it. So anyway, that was just such a fun event, and I love the community coming together with the students. I feel like we have to talk fast now. And that's about it. I have a couple other things coming up that I'll do under workshops. So thank you.
Yeah, the Bethel concert is always phenomenal. And I remember Jake, he graduated with my older son, so I watched Jake play in the, you know, when he was a student play tuba. So that was pretty exciting to see him up on stage. And it's just so amazing to see the students and how many are in choir and in band or orchestra. They have to keep going up, but I remember in the day you couldn't really do that, and now there's so many students doing that, so that's impressive to see. And just such a great event, just so talented, and every year it's just a different kind of theme or what kind of songs that they're playing, so that was really great. And then I was playing in the community ed pickleball. I did try to play, except my foot's bothering me, but I did it a few Wednesdays, and it was full at 5 to 7 and then 7 to 9 for like multiple weeks. So that is a really great growing area. So it's nice to see community ed offer that. And I know they do lessons and things like that too. So just met a lot of community members. It was pretty fun to meet some new people. So I guess that's it for me.
All right, I've got one thing to add that hasn't been talked about yet, and that would be the spring play. You can't take it with you. A lot of fun. My son was part of the tech team again, building the set and all that. So it was really fun. He gave me the tour of the set after the play, so I got to go down and see all the photos and just the work the students put into that. They actually got in costume, took photos, like wedding photos and different events. They talk about a milkman at a certain point, and then there's a milkman on the wall. So it was a lot of fun to kind of see the intricate details up close. But one of the things I talked to the playwright about afterwards goes back to one of our previous meetings where we were talking to the different tech and shop classes that we have, and trying to get those classes and those students involved with the build sets. And I encouraged her strongly to reach out to those teachers and maybe work with Mr. Caldwell on making that connection and getting more of those students involved in kind of the practical application, helping out your other students and taking part in the plays. So we'll see where that goes for the fall program next year, and crossing my fingers and hoping it takes off. But that's probably the only thing that we haven't talked about yet.
All right, thank you. All right, reports, workshops, and conferences.
I just wanted to add that I attended the MSBA's Educator Mental Health webinar. That was very, very good, kind of prioritizing educator mental health to retain teachers. It's very good. You can go back and listen to the YouTube if you'd like. Also, MSBA has a survey out. If you've gotten that in your email, you can get a $5 Caribou coffee card. But it's a pretty important survey. They're trying to define, what the members really need, what they use the most, right down to how many emails you want to get and what services you want. So if you can complete that survey, that would be great. I did go to the C General meeting. I just won't go into much detail, but Chair Joachim was there and went over what was being passed through the House with the education finance. So I'm sure Superintendent Massey will update us. They also finally came out with what their logo looks like now. So Schools for advocating for fair funding, and their logo is kind of, I just printed it in black and white, but you can look for that now. That's just what their logo is. And then I also went to today, to the SPEAK meetings, the substance abuse prevention, and they had, it's here somewhere, guys. They had a detective who works with, he's FLPD, but he works with Washington County's Drug Task Force. And he talked a lot about what they're seeing now with fentanyl and with drugs of different sorts. And so that was a really good to listen to that information today. That concludes my report.
All right, thank you. 916, advertising.
Yes, we met yesterday, and our regular meeting preceded 2 hours of a scanning activity, and we talked about the member districts. It's a 13-member district, and so what our challenges are looking 3 years off into the future. And a lot of those things kind of overlapped when you put all the sticky notes up, mandates, budgets, declining enrollment, special education needs, and how those are increasing and they're becoming more, all the complexities around there. So 916 has worked with a company called Future Solutions, and they'll be coming out with some recommendations this spring. It's been on a trajectory increasing the number of referrals. So there's been a working group to look at the referral process. There's been a referral group to look at how we exit students out. But kind of the bottom line is that 916 has run out of space, or will run out of space. And with all the member districts, they've already levied all the money they can. So they have nothing to build new buildings. They can't build new buildings. So they built Karner Blue and then Cora and Pancalo. So anyway, just there's a lot of work going on around there. around that, and we'll be hearing more, and I'll be hearing more, as well as our Director of Special Ed, Kelly Wilson, and our Superintendent will get all that knowledge. They've been working on that. They are down to 3 finalists for their Executive Director of Special Ed, and they've had our member districts in to help them with that selection, which I think is great. They also, I don't have this little picture, but they retired their therapy dog. He came to our meeting last night. His name is Steve. He's a Great Pyrenees, who has been a certified therapy dog for 5 years, going around 12 buildings at 916. And then we had a presentation from Metro Heights Academy, and we ended with a closed session. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, buildings and grounds, Member Peterson.
We had discussion on the phase 1 bids for HVAC at the high school. We had discussion on the phase 2 that's upcoming. And we also talked about the Ed Center boiler. It's a short meeting this month.
All right, thank you. City of Forest Lake, Member Christensen.
Yes, I went to the meeting on April 8th, and then as Member Tyson mentioned, we were both at the meeting on April 22nd. But at the April 8th meeting, they talked about they're planning and have been planning for quite a while a Veterans Memorial at the Lakeside Park, and talking about a different location and financial support for that. And there was also a really interesting report from mHealth about in this past year their ambulance calls and how many they've had, how many they've averaged, what is the average response time. They said responses were down slightly year over year, and they're just interesting. There's 13 ambulance calls on average per day for all of the Forest Lake area, including Scandia and Linwood, which I thought was kind of interesting. And then on April 22nd, as Member Tyson said, the new captains and sergeants and officers were given the oath of office, and there was also discussion on some improvements around the area, and discussion of some possible improvements to Belts Park. That concludes my report.
All right, thank you. Communications Committee, Member Peterson.
We reviewed the website and had discussion around having uniformity between all the websites, between all the schools, because some of the spots, like where you find the staff contact lists and such, aren't exactly the same, and so that can create confusion for parents. So we had some discussion on that, and then one major topic of discussion was to talk about the branding of the elementary schools. And we had an in-depth discussion about whether we should rebrand all the elementary schools as Rangers instead of the individual schools that they are now. And we would like to see on a future agenda a discussion point of rebranding elementary schools as Rangers.
I would second that if that were a motion.
All right, thank you. Community education, Member Christensen.
Yeah, I think you were at the meeting too. Yes, we were both there, but we had a community education update from Mr. McKinnon. SAC is really filling up for this summer. Early pool is full classes this summer. And then we have a more in-depth presentation about youth and adult programs from Lori Drolson. Just talking about the programs that Community Ed offers. Talked a little bit about Ranger Space Camp, which is coming up. So that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. Curriculum Instruction Equity Committee, Member Raveline or Member Tyson?
I was absent.
Yep, I'll take that. So we had a multilingual learner program update, our former ELL, that's the new term that it's called, multilingual learner program, by Jenny O'Donnell from the high school, and she also works with students at FLOMS. Mr. Ward was there, as well as Ileana Hilberg, who is a cultural liaison, talked about the duties that she does for students in that program, as well as helping to enhance their communications and other things. I won't go too long, but some of the interesting facts that came out, the ELL numbers, or the multilingual learner program numbers in Forest Lake area schools, in 2013-14 we had 63 students, and today in 2024 we have 265. So I thought that was great. Also, they use a test called the Access Test to gain their English proficiency and then exit the program. And the access data for 2023 had our Forest Lake students at 8% over the state average. So very proud of that work, and that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. Finance Committee, member program.
We talked about the fiscal year 24 budget. We're on track for the budget, and also fiscal year 25 insurance premiums. That, of course, is a really hot topic right now. I'm sure we'll be discussing that later tonight, and that's all we talked about.
All right, thank you. And Policy Committee, member Fisher.
Yeah, we talked about a couple different policies, the drug-free workplace policy and the discipline policy, and then we were gonna add a discussion of alcohol on the school grounds policy, but we tabled that until a member can be present to discuss that further. So that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. And on staff welfare, we talked about different ways that we can adjust our school district as the student counts come down, and we talked about kind of demographics associated with that, and we talked about the Hall of Fame and the academic awards and how we're going to change it up a little bit and keep it an exciting experience for everybody. So, all right, Superintendent's report, Dr. Massey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to take a moment to express the district's heartfelt concern for our two students who were involved in the tragic accident Tuesday afternoon. We are grateful to receive word that they are recovering from successful surgeries and are on the long road to recovery. To the two boys and their families, know that the entire Ranger community is rooting for you and holding you in our thoughts and our hearts. We are forever grateful for the quick response of the incredible care provided by the emergency response teams and the staff in the district, and especially the high school staff, district office staff, middle school counselors, that all rallied in the moment to address the situation and as part of the response. And we are certainly looking forward to the day when both of them are back in our hallways. Moving on, we have just completed and received a report from Hazel Reinhardt on our enrollment study, including an analysis of housing growth and projections. Without sharing the details here, because we'll get a much more in-depth, detailed report, but there is expansive growth coming out of Lino Lakes, some future and expansive growth in the Forest Lake area that will have an impact, not major, but will certainly have an impact on enrollment. So we will be looking to have a school board work session in the coming weeks, as well as one in mid-June, to begin to address some of these shifting trends in the school district. For those of you with kids in our schools, know that they are in the process of completing their MCA exams and AP exams. I can tell you that we're seeing some really nice early indications with respect to especially elementary reading and math, so we'll get those results as those come forward. Tomorrow at 11 o'clock, Commissioner Willie Jett will be in district visiting the middle school. If you're free at that hour, please plan to join us. We will spend some time in a roundtable discussion and then visiting different programs that are part of the career pathway program that feed into the high school. Principal Caldwell will be there to speak to that impressive program. If you're driven by the high school athletic stadium, you might have seen the early stages of a tree planting project on either side of the visitor bleachers. That's a result of a significant community donation by previous board member Dean Barr. So significant plantings through Abrahamson's Nursery. So we're grateful for that generous donation. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you.
Quick question. Dr. Massey, does that include the planting that occurred at the Linwood School Forest as well?
No, that would be a different project, although earlier, not earlier, but in the fall, Mr. Caldwell, in the fall, we got trees planted in the front of the high school, and that was also a donation by community member Dean Barr from Scandia.
All right, are there any items that people would like pulled from the consent agenda? If not, do we have a motion to approve 7.1 through 7.5?
So moved. Second.
No? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Thank you. Action items, 8.1, donations. Member Peterson.
All right, donations tonight, we had a $17,264.99 donation from the Girls Basketball Booster Club. FLAHS payment for coaches for the 23-24 season of girls basketball. We had a $1,295 donation from Forest Lake Boys Lacrosse, payment for coach bus to Grand Rapids for the lacrosse game. We had a $400 donation from John Darley, FLAS Community Education Marching Band. We had a $100 donation from the Hugo American Legion Post 620 for the FLAHS FFA Chapter Student Organization account. We had a $100 donation from Beth Decker for FLAS SPED Prom. We had a $100 donation from Cynthia Wald for the same. We had a $75 donation from Mara Lockway from the Flams Band Instruction Dance the Night Away music arrangement. We had a $20 donation from CAF America, Lino Lakes Elementary General Use. Total on this side, $19,354.99. We also had a $1,000 donation from American Legion Post 225 for the Ranger Space Camp. All of the following will be for Ranger Space Camp. We had a $100 donation from Kathy Sands. We had a $100 donation from My Messy Beautiful Life podcast. We had a $50 donation from Little Dress Shop. We had a $50 donation from the Twin Cities Eye Consultants. We had a $50 donation from Seth Becker at Becker Financial Group. We had a $50 donation from Lalitha. I don't know, I'm going to get this one wrong, I'm sure. I got Jaganath, maybe Jaganath, I think. $50 donation from David and Ruth Ann Lunda. A $50 donation from Joe Rethmeyer. A $50 donation from Thomas Shens. And a $25 donation from Jeremy Pease. And this side totals $575 for a total donation of $19,929.99 donations, and I so move we accept.
Okay. Discussion?
we're so grateful in the level of involvement with our parents and our boosters and our community groups, and it's just incredible in our district. We're so grateful, so thank you.
Yeah, well said. All right, with that, all in favor of accepting the donations? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Donations accepted. 8.2, Forest Lake Area Schools staff retirement notice. Somebody could read those?
Sure.
I pulled mine. Oh, go ahead if you want.
No, you go ahead.
All right, so we had Tammy Lehner, special education paraprofessional at the community school with 29 years of service. Michelle Bailey, a long hour cook helper at Forest Lake Middle School with 15 years of service. And Stephen Salin, custodian at Columbus Elementary with 28 years of service. Yeah, that's a lot of years of service going on. So I so move we accept A2.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I just want to thank them all for their service, especially our custodians. We've been shorthanded a while, and this one will hurt, but not that any one is more important than the other, but we've been shorthanded, and so I appreciate them working here through that time, and certainly, you know, all the good work they do to help keep our system running, and that goes for all of our staff. Really appreciate all the hard work they do to keep everything moving around here.
I just want to thank Tammy Lehner for 29 years as a special education paraprofessional. That's outstanding. That is a long time, and we wish her well and hope she has lots of relaxing days in her future.
All right. All in favor of accepting the retirements?
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? Retirements are accepted. 8.3, 2024-2025 school calendar adjustment. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In March,
the board approved the teacher agreement. In that agreement, the number of contract days for each teacher moved from 187 days to 186 days, with the elimination of one professional development day. We need to adjust the 24-25 already established school calendar to reflect that, and administration's recommendation to accomplish that reduction of one contract day for teachers would be to move the last, the calendar calls for the teacher workday to be Monday, June 9th. So administration would recommend that we convert March 10th from a professional development day to an instructional day, and then have the last day of school be on Thursday, June 5th, with the workday moving from Monday, June 9th to June 7th. So that then converts that professional development day and reduces from 187 to 186. The other recommendation, as was communicated in Director Jacobson's report with the letters training, the in-person debriefs required for letters training requires 4 professional development days for those in-person debriefs. We would recommend that we convert April 21st at the elementary level from an instructional day, again at the elementary level, to a professional development day for the purpose of letters training, debrief for elementary educators. Just to indicate how universal across the state that is, the legislature actually approved the reduction of 4 instructional days for districts to accomplish letters training. We only need to convert 1 day, utilizing our current instructional development or professional development days. So a lot happening there, converting May 10th from a professional development day to an instructional day, moving the last day of school to June 5th, with the workday being June 6th, and then converting April 21st from an instructional day at the elementary level to a professional development day. And with all of that activity, administration recommends approval.
All right, do you have a motion to approve the
Move to approve A3.
Second.
Any discussion?
Well, I just want to add to the point that the superintendent just made. I've been around colleagues from other districts, and I just want to, so proud of our district, this commitment we've made to letters and being early adopters and getting out there and getting this training done. We are so ahead of the 8 ball, and districts are scrambling to convert these days, and we're just converting 1. I'm just proud of the work that we've done in this area, and it's commendable.
Any further discussion? No further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. 8.4, proposed discontinuance of requests for services, policy 306.
This one's fairly straightforward. This policy is obsolete, and the school board policy committee has proposed that this policy be discontinued. Administration makes that recommendation.
All right, do we have a motion to approve 8.4?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The policy is discontinued. 8.5, vending machines, policy 311.
The purpose of this policy is to establish procedures to govern vending machines that are installed in the school district. A couple of noteworthy changes are being recommended by the policy committee. First and foremost, shifting the dollar figure for bidding from $10,000 to $25,000 would now require sealed bids for vending contracts, and giving the superintendent the approval process or discretion for approval of items that might be opposed by a community member within those vending machines. So with those changes and coming from the policy committee, administration recommends approval. So,
Second.
Any discussion?
I just had a question for the policy committee. Was the change on the dollar amount merely to reflect inflation over the time that this policy's been enforced, or?
So yes and no. Another part of it was that the legal requirements that we have on certain dollar amounts. And as Dr. Massey mentioned, the school board is now an informed party rather than being an active participant in decision making. It made sense, at least on the committee level, that a dollar amount of that size wasn't enough to bring to the entire body unless there was some objection to that, which is why we remained informed. So that was kind of the gist of the decision there. Member Christensen, did I miss anything in that?
All right, any further discussion? If there's no further discussion, can we do that by?
Roll call time.
Yeah, we have a roll call, please.
Yes, Member Rebeline?
Aye.
Member Tyson?
Aye.
Member Christensen votes aye. Member Corcoran?
Aye.
Member Hagelin is absent. Member Peterson?
Aye.
Member Rayfield?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
The motion's approved. 8.6, hazing policy 431.
The changes that were, go ahead.
Hazing prohibition policy
Thank you.
431.
There you go.
Critical word.
And the changes recommended in this policy come from MSBA model policy updates. There's some added language and some clarification and frankly some really important language around consequences for hazing. It also reflects staff responsibility when they become aware of hazing and their responsibility for intervening, responding, and notifying school administration. And then there's updates around reporting procedures with respect to reported hazing incidents. With those changes, administration would recommend approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Well, I just wanted to note, when I read through it prior to this, that it wasn't reviewed. I mean, the last time it was revised was 2011. So I'm glad that we've got all those significant changes in there because it was really time. So thank you for the work of that committee.
Any further discussion? No further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion's approved. 8.7, safe and support schools anti-bullying policy 541.
The purpose of this policy is to assist the school district in its goal of preventing and responding to acts of bullying, intimidation, violence, reprisal, retaliation, and other similar disruptive and detrimental behavior. The changes now include language around cyberbullying, utilization of electronic technology as a means in which a student may bully another student, and includes language that utilizing district technology, district computer, district Wi-Fi is also strictly prohibited and gives schools and school administration jurisdiction to intervene. With those, I think, important updates, administration would recommend approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? If there's no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion's approved. 8.8, ratify 2023-2025 Forest Lake Principals Association Agreement. Superintendent?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm pleased to bring to you tonight changes to the principal agreement, consistent with other agreements that have come before you in this cycle for your approval tonight. This agreement reflects the parameters that you gave the administration to work with in our negotiation with principals. You will see really several changes, fairly straightforward. You'll see those reflected in the list of holidays. Again, consistent with other agreements, conversion of Good Friday to now being identified as a floating holiday, still there, sitting there as an option for folks with respect to Good Friday. Juneteenth is now included, the conversion of the language of June 4th to Independence Day. And then there is, under the 403B component in the agreement, an increase from $5,000 district match to $6,000 district match. And then salary adjustments, again, consistent with the parameters provided by the board, with 2% in the first year and 3.5% in the second year. And as I recommend your approval of this agreement, I can't state how important, and it was articulated by Member Christensen earlier, the critical role that our administrators play in our school leadership. They are the administrators, but they're also the instructional leaders. And great schools require great principals. They go hand in hand. So we're thrilled with the team that we have. They do amazing work. And again, administration would recommend approval of this agreement.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, any discussion?
I just want to add that I want to give a shout out because I think it is Principal Appreciation Week. So we want to thank all of those amazing principals that we have in our district and the good work that they do in their buildings every day. And we are just so blessed to have the leadership that we have in our district.
Yeah, I would second that. I think the work of the principals is just critical. They're not only an important interface to the public, but they're really the onus of the academic work that goes on in the school, and just critical for leading that academic work. And yeah, it's a big job. So I just want to thank them and appreciate this contract. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I want to thank the principals for all the work they do, and you know, I'm glad that the raise reflects more than it has in the past, and I wish it was even more. So this is where we are budgetarily. So.
All right. If no further discussion, Member Clerk, please take a roll call.
Member Rayfield?
Aye.
Member Evelyn?
Aye.
Member Tyson?
Aye.
Member Christensen votes aye. Member Corcoran?
Aye. Member
Hagelin is absent. Member Peterson?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Okay. Contract's approved. 8-9, set medical premiums for 2024, 2025.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm going to take a little bit of time tonight and not just read the cover page, but go through a PowerPoint presentation on this one to just talk through kind of the process and ground people in it and make sure that we're all on the same page as we approve this premium increase for the 24-25 school year. I'm going to start out as part of the recommendation. We have the recommendation to put a pause on our spousal advantage plan that we had implemented. And so last week we were able to hold meetings with our staff who are on that spousal advantage plan and go through the information about why that decision was made and what it means for the district. And so I'm going to run through those slides that we went through with our staff before I get into the premium recommendation, just again to make sure that understanding the whole process. So the agenda for that meeting was to really talk about why did the district try the SAP program, what has been the impact of that, and then what it is in the future. And so when we start to talk about the why, we have to look at our fund balance in our self-insurance plan. And so when we look at the last 4 years, starting in 1920, we had a good size fund balance in our self-insurance plan. And so in 2021, we saw that decrease by about $2 million. And what we saw was a lot of COVID, we thought was COVID-like. That was kind of the thought that, you know, people couldn't get their surgeries done and other things in that previous year. And so therefore we were kind of getting more claims all in at once because of COVID. That next year, 21-22, proved that that wasn't the case. We were getting the claims, we were getting the medical inflation, we were getting all that, and we were a little bit behind the 8 ball in getting that the premiums adjusted to reflect that because again, it was more thought of as a COVID leg than not. when we're in that situation as a self-insurance plan, it's our job to go out and find out what can we do about this and how can we have some ideas for innovative things that we can try to do. And the Spouse Advantage was one of those items that were presented at the time by our broker to say, this is an idea. We can take these high claims that we're seeing on the reports that we review on a monthly basis through our insurance committee, and the high claims from spouses and dependents can actually be pushed off onto plans of the spouse and of the dependent. And that's really where, especially the spousal claims, you know, they work for a company too, and everybody should share that burden. And so we saw many models of the Spousal Advantage plan and how we could move those high claims off, save them from our plan, and then be able to attack that fund balance. And so when we did that, though, we want to keep our insurance premiums as stable as possible, and we had been doing that also. And so what we were looking at was, again, a way with the Spousal Advantage plan to do that and not impact the premiums as much. 6 years, that also gets into the 0% increase, just talking about medical inflation. We know that medical inflation happens on an annual basis. So the first couple years of self-insurance, we're able to maybe take a 0 because there is a great thing about self-insurance when you're able to administer your own plan. But 6 years of it, you can't buck medical trend that long. And so again, that idea of being a little bit behind in catching up with that inflation that happened over that period of time. One of the questions that we did talk about was being self-insured and the power to do that. So would we ever want to go back to a fully insured plan? Fully insured plan, you just collect the premiums, send them over to the insurance company, they're making all the decisions and giving you a number back. And that's all you have control you have in that process. So the answer is no. We want to be a self-insured plan. We want to be nimble. We want to be able to try different things and have our members impact their health care premiums and everything in a way that we have available in the self-insurance model. So it is really important to be self-insured. It's really important to try different things. And in the end, what we saw with the Spousal Advantage plan is that the impact didn't pan out in the models that we saw. So the first area that we saw, which is unique to school districts, is the fact that we had a big reduction in our revenue. And so the SAP plan does not carry a premium. And so we're siloed. You know, we have the general fund where we have all of our operating expenses come out, and the premiums move from the general fund, from our standard plan, into our self-insurance plan. And that's how we get the revenue to offset all the claims and expenses we have there. And so when we started the Spousal Advantage plan, the idea was that, yep, it would be okay because the claims would go down and offset each other. It didn't offset enough. The revenue reduction was significantly more than what was anticipated. And so again, not moving from the general fund over to the self-insurance fund was a problem. In the models, that didn't always happen because they weren't so siloed. So that's one of the things in education that was different. We had increases in the admin costs due to shifted claims. You're gonna see that on the next couple slides. And so we see that our savings calc gets called, which is the amount that we pay our Spousal Advantage plan, is higher because we have a lot of people who are very savvy. We've taught them to be very savvy about the medical world and how they're using their dollars and everything. And so our costs along with that admin side were higher than anticipated. It also created an inequity among employees. So at the time we started the Spousal Advantage plan, we had everyone that was able to cover their deductibles, and now we've moved to a system where people have deductibles, $1,500 for single and $3,000 for family. Under the Spousal Advantage plan, there's no deductible. And so that's an inequity amongst our employees of what we're able to do, and we're only able to get that premium off of our people on our standard UMR plan. So it doesn't feel right to charge these people to give a benefit to somebody else that's better than what they're getting to begin with. The special program also limits our responses on our RFPs, which is the way that we get every 2 years we have to go out for a medical bid for carriers. And so last time we got one bid, and that was significant, only getting one bid. And so it limits it because, again, health insurance, they want to know the risk. That's their job, is to figure out what the costs are going to be and what that risk is. It's harder to determine risk when you're a divided pool of people. And and so they don't want to bid as much. And so it limits our responses on that, the SAP program does. So that's kind of the impact that we've seen. I'm going to go over that, and you'll see some of the points come through in the next couple slides. This is something that we review monthly with our insurance committee, these numbers, and talk through. And so it's really important that we share it with the whole district. And people in the meetings with SAP were really grateful for these slides to really paint the picture of the why. And so we always look at 24 months of medical because that's what our renewals are going to look at. So anybody looking to bid on us are going to do that. And then what we're looking for when we look at this, we're going to have a claims column that we're going to see. That claims column typically is going to track 80 to 85%. Is the range that we're going to see. We see over the last 12 months that we were at 81%. So it seems like we're pretty close in that area. What we're not going to see here, though, admin costs, that's where you're going to see, you want that typically then, claims plus admin to be less than 100%. That's how you're going to add your fund balance, you know. The less it is, the more you're going to add. So last 12 months, we're running at 112%. So although our claims look good, when you add that admin fee, which is all the SAP costs shifted over to that admin side, that's where we're going to see the problem. These are the actual numbers, again, by month that we look at. So April of 23 through March of 24, you're going to see those orange columns. And so, again, looking at that 81% for just claims on the bottom right there. And then when we add in that admin cost, we get to the 112. So overall, $1.2 million under our revenue with where we need to be.
Can I ask you a question?
Yep.
What precipitates the change in, so the admin costs, how do they change, or are they fixed, or?
Yeah, so normally for our standard like UMR plan, they're gonna be set for the year. With our spousal advantage plan, it's gonna be a percentage of what your premium you would have paid versus what the claims were. And then they get 30% of that savings cost. So it can vary per month depending on the usage.
So with this particular change, then would they become fixed again?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and also in admin costs, just, you know, there's Healthiest You, there's other programs that we have within that cost, but again, those are stable costs that we see throughout the year.
Okay, and the admin cost, that's the bid that's part of the bid that, okay.
Yep, yep.
I was just gonna have you itemize, if you would, generally the administrative, what fits it within the administrative cost, because that's stop loss as well.
Yep, that's gonna be, it's gonna be your stop loss insurance, so anything over 125, we have insurance to cover to make sure that, you know, we don't get too high in our costs. It's, as I said, our Healthiest You is gonna be in there, our UMR fees, which a portion of that then goes over to our broker and gets covered through that. We do typically charge a little bit of our benefits person to there if we're able to in a given year. Yeah, so I think.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry to
Oh, no.
take you off course.
No, yeah, it's great questions. So the previous 12 months, so going back to the 22-23 time period, we do see that we were at 96% and 122%. So there is the idea that the SAP did something, right? So we're seeing a little better numbers. The point is that it didn't do enough and it didn't do what we needed it to do. So we do see that the model did pan out in some respects, but it didn't get us close to where we need to be. And so we do need to change it up and go back. And that's something that our broker was with us in all these meetings and talked about the fact that the SAP may look to come back in the future, and it's a targeted program for a small number of employees versus a very large number. And so that the idea is maybe we just need to implement it differently than we did. So again, might be hearing it again, so know that. And then the renewal position, we spent time on this to say, okay, now we know what we spent and what we're seeing this deficit, and we're knowing that we're not going down the right track. So then the question is, what do you do about that? So the first thing is, what if we just left everything the same? So what if we, you know, had the UMR plan, the spousal advantage, and we just move forward with that plan for next year? And so when we do that, we see that we again look at those 24 months of coverage. We put in that trend inflation that we always know was out there for the medical. So 7.8 for period 1, 7.6 for period 2. We fixed costs, we leave them around the same mark because we've had that year of SAP. The revenue is for the renewal, you'll see what we need. And so again, looking at the overall with the picture, 22% would be the increase that we would be looking at. And so this slide just kind of breaks it down into the numbers. So you start at the top with your claims. The blue line is our stop loss, what we get back from stop loss. So you end up with what the claims really were during that time. Then you trend it, because again, we need to trend it to the future of what we think it will be. And then again, you weight it. So the latest 12 months are going to be 75% weighted, then 25% the prior. So you get that weighting in there. And then you come up with a per member per month total of $643.36. You come up then with the current members, you get a per member per month amount. So you need about $10.2 million to cover the claims that we would be seeing. Here, what you're looking at is you go 10.2 is your claims. Now we get to that admin, and you see that 227.14 would be what we would need to cover those admin fees. And so again, we would have a current income with the employees that are on only the UMR plan or standard plan. We come up with about 10.9. So the difference of 2.3 would need to be made up, and that would be a 22% increase. So if we change nothing, it would be a 22% increase. So then you say, okay, we need to change something, right? So we change something. We say, okay, we're gonna go ahead, use those 24 months. We're gonna have the same inflationary factors on it. We know we have to add claims. So the claims number is gonna be different because people are gonna come back from the SAP plan, right? So we need to account for the claims that they're gonna bring with them. So we do that. And then we just go ahead, fix cost change, and the fact that we're gonna see that on the admin side, not having that savings calc anymore. That's a standard number out of our pocket. And then we're looking at a renewal position of 13% instead of 22%. Here are the numbers that go along with that. Again, starting at the top with those claims, looking at 9.1 instead of that 8 million that we saw earlier, getting that weighted, bringing it down. We see that our per member per month is more because we know that we're going to have some claims with that that come with it. So our need is $12 million for the claims, but when we go to the next one, our fixed fees go down to 156. So we see that that changes what we're doing. Overall, we end up with revenue because we have more members on our standard plan, creating that transfer from the general fund into the self-insured fund. So we get about 12.5 million in revenue coming in. Our calculated need is about 14, and that equals a 13% increase. Yep.
Is that to break even, or is that to build?
So we will break even. It is to build a little bit, depending on when people shift and what they shift to. So there's some wild card in that.
If we see over the next 2 years another increase in claims, what projected increase is that in medical cost that's built into this fund?
Say it again. Are you looking at the are you saying the 7.8% we've built in for the trend?
Okay, so it's an 8%.
Yep.
Okay, sorry. I overlooked
Yep.
that.
No problem. So overall, the recommendation tonight then is that we do look at a 13% increase, which is what was on the cover sheet for premiums. The point that I need to make here is that there are district contributions associated with all of this. And so again, when you look at that total and you say it's a $125 difference for single, some people are fully covered and will not see any of that. Some people will see $25 of that if they're an 80/20 model, so per month. So it is, we need to understand that there's a district contribution that goes along with that. Family, you're gonna see more significant simply because it's a bigger dollar amount. And the coverage isn't, they don't put it as much in the premiums when we bargain. so you will see it there. We recommend the pause on the Spousal Advantage Plan, which means that starting July 1, we don't offer it to anyone new. We are working, and that's what we did last week with all the members. We're working with the current SAP members. Sometimes they need to transition off differently. So there was an HSA component to the Spousal Advantage Plan that people had to deny the HSA contribution while they were on the Spousal Advantage Plan, and so they can't re-up that until December. So we're gonna hold people harmless. We're gonna make sure that they can get off the spouse's plan back onto our plan and not have any penalties with that. So the SAP members would have until December 31st to make that determination, and then those benefits would end. And again, holding them harmless.
Chrissy, talk about our efforts on trying to help members reduce claim costs.
So on pharmacy and
Pharmacy, health issue.
Yep, so we've been working, yes, very hard. Pharmacy, low-cost pharmacies, so we provide on an annual basis 2 emails that go out that just talk about the fact if you walk into a CVS, Walgreens type situation versus if you walk into Wyoming Drug or Fairview or any of those, the cost difference between what you're going to pay for a prescription and what that means for you. We also have Healthiest You. We also have Acerta Health, which is a scan. We've used it in my family for the ability to take a CT scan that costs $3,800 and get it for $1,600. And so we do a lot of education on that in our monthly meetings. We do also, the surgeries is another one, so you need a knee replacement, we can go ahead and get that at a less expensive price. So being a consumer of your healthcare is real, and it's something that our insurance committee takes very seriously with our employees, and they've always been really supportive to get back to those bargaining groups, bringing it back to their members to talk about how we can reduce claims in the best way possible.
This is very good. I just going to ask about how many people are on that Spousal Advantage Plan? I mean, is it?
Yep, about 135.
135. So
yep.
Are people, like, how soon are they going to start to transition?
Yep, so we just sent out a survey last night, so we have, about 17, 18 responses, so I don't know yet what the whole group will look like, but right now it looks like most people, just talking to the employers, will take advantage of it in December, but there's a couple that'll move over in July. And some people will stay, I'm gonna say that. Some people will end up staying on the family coverage and not make it back to our plan, because that's best for their family. And so we've offered help sessions. National Insurance Services, is our broker, is offering 3 days of help sessions that people can sign up for to compare plans and make sure they're making the right decisions. So we have that support for our employees. We, again, last week took an hour on 3 different days. We also did a recording of that and sent that out. So this presentation, we did the recording and got that out to members. And then we've just been answering emails this week. So, really feel like we're supporting in the best way possible. We've heard back things, people liked some people liked the program. It worked well for their family financially, but they all understand the reason that we need to do this and that we need to change course. So it's been a positive experience in that way.
Could you just take a quick minute and describe, so there's a bunch of decisions and people who've been looking at this. Can you describe the benefits committee, its makeup, and how you come to these decisions?
Yep. So it's a consulting committee. So it's not a voting. They don't get vote on it, but they are consulted on it. And so once a month we get together. We look at the claims. The makeup is a member of each bargaining group is invited to have a member there. We've done better this year in getting people there. In the past, custodial hasn't been represented. They're represented this year. Pairs are represented. SAC's represented. So a lot of more groups coming in because we want them to understand when we get to that negotiations table what's going on and why. And so that's a really key to it. Administration is on there. Dr. Massey, Director Friedman, myself are on the committee, and then again run by our broker, National Insurance Services. We go over the claims on a monthly basis and we talk about strategy. What can we do? So, when we decided to implement the Spousal Advantage, that went through the committee too. And so this decision to put the pause on it went through based on the data that was presented.
All right, thank you. Go ahead.
I know this wasn't the beginning of the presentation, but I didn't write down. What's the current fund balance of that?
Yep, so about negative 2.6.
Okay, that's what I thought, was
Yeah.
negative 2.6. And I always forget this, so I always ask you the question, when do we need to bail that out with the general fund?
So there's not a set timeline. We've done really good things to be able to elongate that. And so I don't have an answer for you. We check in with our auditor every year, and she feels that we're making the correct adjustments, that they would not have us do that in the near future. So
We're working toward a longer-term self-correction versus general fund.
yeah, so we have it's a 3 to 5 year plan. So with NIS that we just started. So that's what we've presented the auditors.
And the anticipation is that over the next 3 to 5 years, we're not
We'll be
going to
out of
get
the
that
red.
worst case scenario where we need to
Right.
do a general fund.
Yeah, we'll be out of the red.
I have concerns about that just from a general fund perspective. I just want to see that.
You and me both.
My last question here would be, what kind of time period do you need on this decision tonight?
Yeah, so we are asking the board to make the decision tonight. The reason is that that open enrollment that you just saw on the slide does start May 6th through the 24th. And so in order for members to know what we're asking them to sign up for, we do need those premiums set. And the information was presented to the finance committee last month and brought forward.
I hate to throw one more question out there.
Yep.
But, since I work in the business of risk, there's a saying that you either pay for it today or you pay a lot more for it tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm not extremely comfortable on this is the projected break even. Can you add anything to give me some comfort that that's enough? I don't like the idea of the 13% increase, but I feel like we might have to do more.
Yeah, so I think that, NIS, the thing that I love about the data that they present is in those first slides, we saw that 81%, right? And we said, wow, you could look at that number and say, boy, you're looking really good. You're right in that target range. Well, what you're not talking about is those admin costs, right? On the next two columns over. And that's something that's been a problem in the past, is not going to that next step. And that's what NIS has done for us, is taken the data, presented it, and been able to show us how it's going to roll out. And their projections have been accurate as we've rolled out this year. And so their numbers are conservative because, again, they're new to us. They don't want to, not come in where they say they're going to. That's really important to them. And so, again, when they're calculating it out, they're looking at how many people are going to move over when. So that's a consideration in the number. And again, not putting everyone in right away, which is a big thing. That gives me comfort to know that they're not moving everyone July 1st, even though they want people to move July 1st. They're streamlining that in to be that half-year mark where most of them will come in. They also are looking at claims and, again, putting in that trend for increasing. So I think in the past, one of the things that we've done is taken a lot of credit for the things that we're trying to do, the strategies that we have, and we're not doing this. We're just looking at the claims this year. And we're saying, what are they going to be? And anything that we do and we get out of those programs are going to help that get to that number, not be counted in that number already. Does that make?
It does. I got a follow-up question, of course, but this is the 2-year approval, so we look at this again in 2 years.
So we
so
set
we can
premiums on an annual basis. Yep. Yes, so this is a 1 year for next school year, and then HIDA bids are gonna go out, so that idea of a new carrier could come in, and that's where NIS is seeing significant savings.
And that can help us even more by
Yes,
adjusting
because
carriers.
if we get more than one bid, then it could be over $500,000 savings in our admin costs for stop loss and other when we have competitive bids.
Hopefully my last question here,
Hold on, do we have any other questions?
Can I provide a point of clarification?
I just want to let, absolutely, yeah.
Point of clarification. NIS, if we were to ask them to push the risk factor, they would say, okay, drop it to 10%. I think we can do it, but that's risky. So at 13%, they're covering that margin and providing a more conservative rate at 13%.
Okay, great.
Because that is what we asked. I mean, we did say, can you get it to 10? That's what we want.
And that's my apprehension. And,
yeah, that's a good, thank you, Steve.
Yeah, thank you for that, Dr. Massey.
Yeah.
The last question I had was the the tier, oh, I'm
So
sorry.
go ahead, let him go and then I'll.
Are you sure? Yeah, I'm
Yeah, no,
hopefully
it's
done
fine.
here. Medical insurance is something I dig very deep into,
Yeah.
just due to my lifestyle here. But the last question I had was the tiered sunsetting of the special advantage plan. I'm curious, is it necessary since that would create a qualified life event and allow any individual to make a change in insurance?
It won't create a qualified life experience because it's a secondary plan, it's not a primary plan.
Thank you. Okay,
So.
I'm finally finished.
Yeah.
Member Peterson?
Yeah, so while I am also cognizant of the budget, I also am understanding the impact to families. And as the largest employer in most communities that we exist in, this has a direct impact both on our families and then on top of that, our businesses, because our families spend our money in our towns. And so I was gonna ask the question and Dr. Massey responded in our target of 10%. But what is the most significant, and I know I'm putting you on the spot, so I wanna apologize for that because I didn't prep you for this.
Yeah.
But the employee portion of the bargaining group, what would be the largest increase that an individual would see ballpark? I'm not looking for an
Yep,
exact
so,
number.
and what I'm going to clarify this with is most people in this situation do not take our family insurance. So I'm just gonna say that. So I don't know if anyone would be affected by the number that I'm going to share with you. But the number, it would be, if you're taking family coverage, the most it could be is $220 per month.
A month. So that's a significant amount of person's
For
budget.
family, yep.
Especially when we calculate, some of the wage rates
Yep.
in our district. So I think that it should behoove all of us as members to keep that portion of it in mind. It's often easy to focus on the budget side of it and not focus on the family side of it, but this impacts real people every single day and what they can afford at the grocery store, so.
And I would add as a point of clarification, some of the agreements that you've ratified have an increase in the district family contribution.
And that's an unratified agreement. So that's somebody who's going to be open. Does that make
Just a
sense?
reminder
So
here,
that's
we don't-
today's amount.
You had to have a motion on the table, and so it's questions. So we're asking questions. Yes. Go
I
ahead.
have a question. I met with you a couple of days ago just because I was trying to understand all of this. There's a lot going on, and I think what you mentioned was really important to Member Peterson's point. When we got the information that it was going to be a 13% increase, right away I thought again of some of our lower, paid employees, bus drivers, paras, our BIS folks, SAC. And so we met and kind of talked it over and to help me I know the family is gonna be a significant cost, but again, what helped me understand is for at least the 13% increase, it's split, if I understand right, 80-20. So
Some of our classified bargaining groups have that in for their single coverage, correct?
for the
Yep.
single.
Yeah,
So
for the single coverage, so that's again where we're gonna see, people who are 80-20 are gonna see a $25 increase per month. They're split differently over checks because they're 9-month employees, so it equals out to be about $17 per check, because they don't have 24, so they have 18, so they get a little bit more each paycheck. But again, for single coverage for those 80-20, it's gonna end up being about the $33 a month, so $17 a paycheck. That would be different. So that is significant because the district picks up that, and that is something that, again, we'll look at the next year's budget to say we were hoping for around 10, and we're gonna come up with those dollars to do that in the budget, cover the additional district expense that goes along with that too.
All right, do we have a motion to set the medical premiums for 2024 as recommended?
Move to approve. Second?
Discussion. Go ahead.
I just want to thank you for that presentation. I heard it in Finance Committee. I heard good things about the broker that we're using now. Also heard from the teacher reps that were in there that, they're talking all the time to their groups. So I feel like the process, and I've learned that it's very inclusive, and you explained how it is very inclusive going through these decision-making process. So I feel confident in that. We absolutely have to look at whether something's going to be a hardship to our employees. But I think that the writing was on the wall with the SAP program, and I think we just have to move forward and let the decisions play out and see where we go from there. Thank you for the report again.
Of course, I heard it too in finance, and Chris, you did a great job explaining it. We had a lot of questions in finance too. And can you refresh my memory, how much the increase was last year? The year
Yep.
before? Was it 10?
Yeah, so it was 6% on family and 10% on single. So
Okay,
it was,
I remember.
two different
And
amounts.
we knew that this was, gonna be an issue last year too.
Correct.
We've been
Yep.
working and steadily
Yep.
trying to get that number.
We knew it was gonna
under
be
control.
double digits again this year.
Yeah,
and
I mean, this was
potentially one more.
anticipated and
Yep.
discussed, and it's
Yep.
always kind of
Yep.
known. But I think, like, we're making great strides on, and remedying that negative balance.
And I would say that we acted quickly,
Yes.
being able to identify quickly that this wasn't going the way that it was, make the change, be nimble, and do that.
Yeah, but I think we always try to be creative and look outside the box to save the employees' money and the district money. So I remember when we talked about that plan at length, the SAP plan for a long time. So it was something to try. You don't know until you try.
Yeah.
But hopefully we get more competitive bids too next year. You don't know what the future holds. So all we can do is do our best and try to keep it as affordable as we can. So I appreciate that information. Thank you.
We just like to thank you for all the work that you guys have done. It's obvious that you did a lot of studying on this one, and you tried to keep the premium as low as possible. As Member Peterson mentioned, this does affect our families when we have an increase, especially of this size. And we're on both sides of the coin where we're trying to look at the overall budget, what we can do for the employees, what they need to do. So it's a difficult balancing act. But I think it's kind of, in a way, we're kind of making up for those 0% increases now. We gotta fix that situation, and hopefully next year we'll have a much smaller increase, and maybe a lot more easily absorbed by our staff. So thank you.
Took the words right out of my mouth. If there's no further discussion, then Member Clerk, please take a roll call.
Member Peterson?
Aye.
Member Rayfield?
Aye.
Member Evelyn?
Aye.
Member Tyson?
Aye.
Member Christensen votes aye. Member Corcoran?
Aye.
Member Hagelin is absent.
Right. Motion's approved. 9, new business. 9.1, first reading of the discipline policy 515.
The purpose of this policy is to provide the discipline structure for the policy and implementing the policy throughout the district. Given the nature and importance of this policy, I'm going to read the policy and make sure we all understand. Totally kidding.
No, I'm looking forward to this.
There are very simple updates in this policy that are language related. Take a look at those before next meeting when we ask for your approval. So,
All right. So moved. Second.
So there's a motion.
They'll do it all.
All right, so take a look at your upcoming calendar dates, and so you put a motion on the table to.
I will second that.
And Kurt second. Any discussion? No. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we're adjourned.